be here.
All right, we ready?
I've been feeling it.
You don't have the
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, February 7th. It is now 7 p.m. Town Council meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. John, will you lead us in prayer?
Please rise and bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening as your humble servants. We ask that you watch over these proceedings and bless us with your divine guidance and your unparalleled wisdom. Help this council to always engage in meaningful discussion and remind us to be thoughtful and compassionate in our decisions, as our choices and decisions affect the lives and the well-being of others. Please bless the great town of West Warwick and the good citizens who live in it. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Introduce and pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Padula.
Here.
Councilman Licciardi.
Here.
Councilman Mezia.
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico.
Here.
Council President Goslin.
Here.
There is a quorum on record.
I move that the minutes of the January 31st executive session be kept closed in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointment to the West Warwick Chief of Police. Resolved that the Town Council of the Town of West Warwick hereby appoints John F. McGarrah, pursuant to Article 13, Section 1302 of the West Warwick Home Rule Charter, as the West Warwick Police Chief, effective February 8th of 2017.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Any discussion? As we went through some we had a total of 14 applications, and actually 6 from internal, which is very good. I like hiring from within. I think we've come down to the final decision with Major John McGarrah. John has filled in for Chief Silver, former Chief Silver, when he was away at the FBI Academy, and with his professionalism and his dedication to the town of West Warwick and the West Warwick Police Department, I think the council unanimously decided to go with Major John McGarrah. Fred?
I'd just like to also add, particularly with the internal candidates, that we've got some incredibly qualified officers in our police force. I asked the current town manager of East Greenwich, who is the former police chief, Thomas Coyle, and also the town manager of Hopkinton, former police chief of Smithfield and former state police, Bill McGarry, to assist us with the interviews and the reviews. And they were incredibly impressed by all of our officers, and they went out of their way to tell me how impressed they were and how lucky we are to have such a great group of guys here. It was a difficult decision, but again, because of number one, he's John's 26 years on the force. He's been incredibly valuable member of the force for these years, and as Council President Goslin just mentioned, he's filled in on numerous occasions when Chief Silva's been away, and most recently as the interim. So I think it's an excellent choice, but I also think that from the interview process, we got a lot of great ideas from the other officers that interviewed that I've already asked soon-to-be Colonel McGarrah to work with them to see that we move this force forward in a very positive direction and take those ideas and particularly get more people out into the community. So I look forward to it, but look forward to working with John and the rest of the force.
And just to piggyback on that, as Fred said, having qualified people is amazing, because when one person decides to retire, it's sometimes easier to backfill that role. So, congratulations to all the candidates, and wish the best of luck, and hopefully in the future for you. With that being said, any other comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Before I start, I do want to just let everyone know that we will be hosting a promotional ceremony in the near future. Obviously, with my appointment, there'll be several officers in the police department that will be promoted as well. We'll certainly let everyone know a date once we pick that date, and hopefully everyone will be able to attend that promotional ceremony. With that being said, I am truly honored and extremely proud to be named police chief for the town of West Warwick and the West Warwick Police Department. I personally would like to thank each town council member, town manager Fred Presley as well in this appointment. I know that I look forward to working with each and every one of you, and I know we all have the town of West Warwick most of all in our heart, and I look forward to moving the town forward, and I know we'll do our best to make our residents proud to be a resident of the town of West Warwick. I'm also extremely excited to represent West Warwick, a town that I was born and raised in. The McGarrett family has been from West Warwick our whole life. It's rewarding to be able to give back to a community that provided so much to me as a child through my adolescence and even into my adult life. I certainly look forward to giving back to the town, and I know that the police department will work together to improve the quality of service that we provide to you, and at the same time, improving the quality of life in our community together, the police department and the community as a whole. And finally, to my families, first the West Warwick Police Department family. There's no doubt that the members of this police department, past and present, each and every one of them have played an important and significant impact on my career. They certainly made me a better police officer, and more importantly, a better person. Just by being on this department 26 years, it's truly an honor to represent each and every one of you. Law enforcement can be a very difficult and challenging career, and rest assured that the men and women of this West Warwick Police Department are hardworking, dedicated individuals, and they certainly exemplify our motto of courage, sacrifice, and devotion. Finally, my family, my mom, my wife Kathy, son Jeffrey, daughter Jonna, and son Garrett. I'm honored to represent them. It would not be possible to be where I am today without them. I'd also like to acknowledge my dad, Benny, and my brother, Michael. Unfortunately, they're not with us in person, but I know they're here in spirit, and they're certainly very proud of this appointment, I'm sure. With that being said, being a spouse of a police officer is not an easy task. I mean, we work shift work, we work holidays, we have overtime whether we want it or not many times, and it takes a special family to realize that, and my family has been nothing but supportive of me. They've had the utmost support and love for me, and each one of them have made me the person I am today. And without their guidance and love, I would not be here, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And I'm proud to be their son, their husband, father, and brother to my sisters. With that being said, I look forward to the opportunity. Thank you again, and I wish everyone the best, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Introduction for road abatement.
Abandonment.
Abandonment, sorry. Where did I get big from?
Who's the attorney for this? He's
Tom Cronin.
Tough act to follow.
Ah, yeah, you're in trouble.
You're not going to get a standing out. I'm pretty much sure of that.
Is this on?
Yeah, just twist it around to you.
Thank you.
Why is this on? We're supposed to have a meeting about this in like 2 weeks.
Okay,
He wants to talk about it.
thanks.
Oh, this is just.
Good evening, Thomas Cronin for the petitioner. Here for, to start a process, strictly procedural reasons here tonight, to introduce a petition to abandon a street here in the town of West Warwick. It's in the purview of the town council as a legislative body to abandon a road that's not being used for public use. This is part of an overall planning scheme for a condominium development that has been approved by the West Warwick Planning Board, master plan approval. Next stop here to the town council for road abandonment as proposed, and finally over to the zoning board later on if the town council approves the abandonment of the street. The name of the street is Arthur Street. It's never been developed, never been available for public use. It's not even a street. It's just on the maps of the town of West Warwick. If you drove by, it'd be woods. It's on Pulaski Street, just west of the Patuxent River. The petitioners.
Portion of it is developed. There's a portion of the street is a regular street.
That's on the Jefferson street side. It connects all the way through from Pulaski to Jefferson. That's correct. The abandoned.
Part of it is a regular road right now, like an actual physical road.
No, it's
Yes, I'm 100% positive. Yes.
From West Warwick Avenue heading south is Arthur Street.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm not speaking of that portion of it.
Okay.
It's northwest of Pulaski Street. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Williamson. The
South of Jefferson Street, it's not developed.
right.
Jefferson to Pulaski.
Correct.
Right. So the, tonight, I'm here to ask the council to follow Rhode Island General Law 2461, to advertise this matter for public hearing, to notify the abutters at the petitioner's expense, and to hold a public hearing on our request.
There seems, let me just ask a quick question here. There seems to be a lot of lots that are subdivided right now on the plans here. Are those owned by multiple people or one person?
One person, Shoreline Properties LLC, which is Joseph Quitelli is the sole member. Yeah, he owns both sides of the street, all of those lots.
So lot 15 all the way up to 28. This is from Jefferson to Pulaski, 15 to 28. And then on the right-hand side, 29 to 39 are all owned by one individual?
That's correct. It's an LLC, yes.
Okay, there's no other parties. This
Not
isn't blocking,
Not that I'm aware of.
okay. And the reason why I'm asking is I know personally I know this about Montclair Street, that they wanted to abandon that at one time, but they couldn't abandon it because it was blocking development for additional properties up in the back that abut the area.
Right, have rights to the street, that's right.
Yeah. So that's why I'm asking, is that, like, there's the Green Homestead plat, and then all these lots are all owned by one individual.
That's correct.
I'd like to also add that we have a public meeting set up with the residents of that area coming up. We don't have a date set, but with the developers. So.
And you're asking for us to approve this?
No, I'm asking you to advertise it and notify the abutters of a public hearing at a future date, at which time I'll make a presentation to the council. You might hear some public comment, and then I'll ask you to make the decision in favor of the abandonment.
So, a couple of things. Who's responsible for paying for all the postage to all these abutters?
The petitioner is,
Okay.
as well as the advertisement.
Advertisement?
They have to pay that.
Yeah. No, I want to make sure. You're asking us to advertise it, and I just want to make sure we're not responsible.
Generally, this step isn't a requirement. This was a request of the petitioner, basically to make, if the council, if you were standing here tonight and the council said, forget it, we're never going to do this, then they're not going to waste their time and money notifying all the abutters to go through this process.
When I met with Mark Rule, I thought this was going to be the next step after we talked to the residents of the area.
Well, that's...
We're supposed to have I'd like to delay it until the meeting, at least until I talk to the residents of the area.
Right.
I mean, I think from talking to Mark, we were going to wait to take this step until we saw if there was going to be the residents, just from the ones I've talked to, are not in favor of this project. But I gave them the benefit of the doubt, the LaCroix, that we would at least meet with the residents to see. A lot of this precedes my time in the council as well, but I know my predecessor, Councilman Giroux, is not in favor as well, so.
So,
Just-
Mr.
just
Councilman,
for my-
we-
Just for the record, what are you looking to develop, what's the petitioner looking to develop here?
it's a condominium project of no more than 30 units. Quite frankly, it looks like it'd be about 20, although those plans have not yet been finalized. It is not the project that the councilman is speaking of, the LaCroix project, which is right down the street.
Okay.
It's a different project, yeah.
The second project, all right, I
Yeah.
am familiar with that one as well, okay.
They both ended up at planning on the same night, you know, they're right there. They're close together, but it's not the same issue, not the
This is the
same
one on the
exact.
other, this is the one on the other end, closer to Pulaski Street.
That's correct. So we're not quite as far along as
Okay.
that project.
I apologize then,
No, it's no problem. So, just want to make sure that we,
For the other one?
clarify, yeah.
yeah, I took plenty of heat at planning for that as well, just happened to fall
Okay.
on the same night.
Attorney, who you representing now on this?
Shoreline Properties, Mr. Joseph Catelli is the member of that LLC.
All right, because I got mixed up with the LaCroix one too, that's why I thought you were here for.
It's the end of a different street, but, you know, in the same area, it's not, you know, there's no denying that it's in the same, you know, general neighborhood.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are there any restrictions on the condos, any age restrictions?
There are presently none, Mr. Williamson.
If I may, just for the council's background on it, they did come before planning. Planning granted master plan approval, which is the conceptual approval of the plan, of the concept. They have to go to zoning, but the planning stipulated before we wanted them to go to zoning, they had to come before the board for the street abandonment, before the council for the street abandonment, because the planning board's position was, we don't want you to go to zoning and then go through the whole process and have the council say, no, we're not gonna abandon the street. So I think that may be the reason for the steps that are being taken was, planning board was very specific in that, don't go over to zoning, which you need, before you go to the council. So the planning board, at this stage, the planning board has said yes to the concept.
I shouldn't say the plan presented to the planning board proposes to use Arthur Street as a private street, right where it lies, just to privatize it in the condominium development. So the condominium development would take over the maintenance of the road and
And then go back on the tax rolls.
would go.
Would be
Well,
on
it's
the
on,
tax.
it's on the tax roll now, but as far as.
Nobody's paying nothing
It's
on
not
that.
paying, nobody's paying
Nothing.
anything on this?
No,
Not the right of way.
that's,
No, not the right of way, but I'm talking about the lots.
Correct. Yeah, lots are on
The
the.
lots,
Yes,
lots,
yes.
but,
but the right of way that they're talking about.
I mean, the road itself,
It's
I
town
mean, we'd have to evaluate it with the development, that's basically, you know, when that comes up, that's how, that's the other question is, we won't collect taxes on the road, will we?
Yeah, it becomes
Yeah.
private
It would
property.
become,
It becomes part of the,
We
it becomes
wait
part
by
of the
hand,
overall
the
The
condo
condo
project.
association,
Right.
So we tax the overall condo
Right.
project, and that would be part of it.
because that's what this looks like, a bunch of 75-foot wide lots. It's,
presently is, yes, it would be, the plan would be to build condominiums along the northwest side of the private road and not along the river pursuant to the DEM.
okay, and obviously, you're gonna be abutting Patuxent Terrace properties.
That's correct. The condominiums would back up to the house.
I personally think that, you know, we should take it under advisement, let them move forward, have some meetings with the residents over there, because I don't know what the
I kind of feel like,
feeling is.
especially with the other project, I feel like they're gonna feel like they're getting slammed with two big projects
Well,
right
I'll,
there.
I'll tell you this, as I tell everybody else, this is a street, and if a developer wants to come in and put, you know, he's got 75-foot lots, needs 100 in that area, or 80-foot, I mean, they'll combine lots, and they'll put in 10, 15 houses, it's just, what's the desire of the neighborhood, you know, and obviously they wanna do something there. Whether it's gonna be houses or condos, that's gonna be up to the area, and, you know, even if we don't abandon the road, and you decide, the petitioner decides, I'm gonna put single-family houses in, they can still, I'm doing my math here, it looks like they can put in 10 or 15 of those.
Without
So
approval.
that means maintaining the road for us,
Right.
that maintains plowing, that now continues to cause trash pickup.
I mean, it's building, you have to build it.
No, but if they put those houses in, obviously you got land, and this is, I'm gonna tell you right now, I can tell you there's somebody in this crowd right now who's doing house shopping here in West Warwick and put bids in on a few houses and sold for more than what the person's asking for once again. So the housing market is coming back, and you know, it's just the way it is, and people are gonna start building again. So, and unfortunately, we don't
Also-
have much land left here in West Warwick to build on, so
And
when you
also-
see Arthur Street and abandonments go, or developments that you can put bigger developments on, it's gonna happen. I mean, Greenbush Road, yeah, they didn't want that, Calamar development, they didn't want in there, but they got another development going back in there, so it's pick your poison, is basically what I wanna say.
And everybody,
Condos right now are probably better and,
for
more
us,
cost effective for the town.
and everyone has the right to develop their land. Nobody wants anybody building next to them.
Right.
But they have to understand that if they didn't buy it, there's gonna be, I didn't want houses next to me, but there is, and them same people that I complained about that they're near me, they're complaining on the next project, and it'll go on and on and on. But I mean, the people that own that property have the right to develop, and a town's point of view, my point of view when I look at something like that is, do we allow them to put 10 or 12 houses where 2 children per household at a cost of $16,000 per kid? It costs the taxpayer $32,000 to collect $5,000. Where a condo, very few children, and it's a cash cow for the town. So business-wise, we always lean towards the condos, and we favor the condos for that simple reason. So, and I'm a stickler, and we worked with it before, John. Abandoned land, town property, we shouldn't be in the real estate business. It should be auctioned off, it should be developed, it should be on the tax rolls. We've been discussing this for 2 years, and it just went by the wayside, but that's gonna come back again too, where there's strips of land between people's houses, it's a right-of-way. You take 10 feet apiece, put it on the tax rolls, the town gets money, the people are happy, and that's it, because most of the time, the people that are complaining about using them streets are the ones putting their garbage in them. So,
Or building sheds on them.
right, sheds. Near my house, one of the guys complained that they're coming through his land 10 feet, and the developer said, yeah, you're 30 feet on my property with a shed. So, I mean,
So I think we'll entertain it, but I think we should move forward and also have a public meeting with the councilman
oh,
and
without a doubt.
with the residents over there also.
Okay, well, I'm not familiar with that, the meeting or that's been set up.
Different meeting?
No, like I said, originally
Yeah.
I thought he was, like Angelo, I thought
Yeah.
it was the LaCroix meeting.
I
but
did
yes,
too.
Yeah.
So there is no, I mean, I knew that this was gonna come back when I talked to Mark Rulo, but I didn't know it was coming back now. I knew that there was a potential that it was gonna come back before the summer.
Well, you should have been notified on
I know, I didn't
this.
know anything about this at all. I knew that there was a potential that this was gonna come back up again, but I never heard back. The LaCroix property I did, we had a meeting last week or the week before.
Oh, I'm not too sure about that public meeting or neighborhood
No,
meeting.
but just,
No,
I just
it had
didn't know
nothing to
about
do
this
with
project,
you.
no, I didn't know about this
Yeah.
project at all, though.
Yeah, well, it was just before master plan in, before the planning commission for master plan, November, December.
What I would suggest for you to do is go back to your petitioner, your client, let them know that, you know, they should have a neighborhood meeting to discuss what they want to do here. So when you start doing it or get approved to do it, that nobody's shocked.
Well, I'm requesting, public notice of this request,
If
so,
I can cut through,
Sure.
I think what the council is suggesting is to have a preliminary meeting with abutting property owners. Keep this on a schedule. I was gonna suggest probably tabling this maybe for 6 weeks or 30 days, whenever you think you can have that meeting. Councilman would be there. Any concerns that the councilman may have or the neighbors may have, they can speak directly to the developer. Then you may find at the next level, you don't have any objection if the council decides to put the road abandonment issue up for hearing.
okay, there.
If I might, for one of the reasons to answer any of your concerns, I think that what happened in this situation was planning board was prior to election.
Okay.
I think if you notice, I just recently sent to, I make a point to send to all of the council members my report to planning board and my report to zoning board, so that you are all aware of anything that is coming up, either planning or zoning in your particular district. And you probably were not aware of it.
It was prior.
because It was prior to the election, but I can assure you that everything that goes before planning, and I know David and Angela will speak to that, everything that goes before planning, everything that goes before zoning, I submit a report to each board, and each of you will get a copy of that report prior to their meetings.
Faithfully.
Faithfully, yeah. So, and again, I mean, I don't think anybody on Patuxent Terrace knows this is going on tonight. Is anybody here from Patuxent Terrace?
There's no way they don't
No,
know.
it's not-
I didn't know, so
There was no notice for it.
So there was no, you know, so.
This was just
I'd
an
like to-
introduction.
So the only way we'd hear it is advertising it.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you
Yeah, I
wanna
would go on with the advertising and let the people know.
let the people
Well,
know.
no.
then-
Let Jay meet up with them or meet up with you as a group, because it's gonna play a role even in planning and zoning. If you meet all the criteria with the development,
But keep it on the calendar, because that way,
right?
he wants to move the project forward, obviously without spending exorbitant amounts of money, unless he knows the council is gonna be in favor, but one of the ways that can happen is by having this preliminary meeting. But again, my suggestion would
I'm
is
sorry?
put it on his calendar for either a month or 6 weeks.
Yeah, we do. For,
You have to take care of that in the meeting.
Yeah.
we usually
I don't think that
notify
any of
everybody
us are
2 times
against
beforehand.
No,
any
I don't
any
think
of
anybody's against it. We'd like to see what the
see
project
development,
is.
but we like to see what the project is, and also like to see how the neighbors feel. I mean, you're gonna get the same ones, you know, same questions. Oh, I don't want it near my house, I don't want this, I don't want that. I mean, we come across that all the time. But I mean, as far as us being afraid to abandon a road, I'm not afraid to pull the
Yeah.
trigger on it.
I mean, I say we advertise it, and then we'll see what goes on here at the council meetings.
Yeah, timing wise, you're probably looking at the first meeting in March,
Uh,
just in terms of
that's-
getting the notice out in time and giving them
Yeah,
people
sure,
time to
that's
respond.
Thank you.
But that would give Jason the opportunity to meet prior.
Give them 4 weeks.
Right.
Well, your phone will ring off the hook once they get the message.
So how do we notify them?
March-
Does it
March
mail to the
7th.
certain?
So anybody
They get-
250 feet?
200.
200 feet abutting the properties, so basically everybody who's abutting
The perimeter.
everybody on
furthest-
Patuxent Terrace should
Yeah.
get it.
Oh, yeah.
Some on Pulaski Street should get it,
Out the street.
and Jefferson Street if there's anybody over there. But that's really, and
March
the other side of Arthur Street might catch some too, but
Yeah, the majority of the land is owned by my client on both sides, so
majority or all?
all of it. But I'm saying the,
Because I don't wanna sit here and abandon a road, then I get
Oh,
a
no.
phone call from number 27 saying he owned the lot and he wants to build a house
The
there.
200 feet, the 200 feet is gonna go from every meets and bounds, so it'll
Yeah.
be this way.
Yeah.
And so,
you have the river on
On one side.
the whole, all of one side,
east,
so.
excuse me, the western side.
The
and
eastern
south-
side, we're on
southern
the
Oh,
western
and
side.
that's why I asked, he said,
Yeah.
at first he said they owned all of it, then he said his petitioner owns a majority of it. I just wanna make sure
Well-
that he owns all this, because I don't wanna hear number 25 and 27 are owned by an individual, and we just landlocked them.
Right, but I think what he's getting at is he was talking about both sides of the abandoned
Mhm.
road.
Okay.
That's
What we're
correct,
talking about is the east side of Patuxent Terrace
right.
and the northern side of.
Yeah, we don't own all the property in the 200-foot radius.
No,
We own all the
Just the
property
lot.
abutting
Yeah.
the paper street.
all right.
So
We'll
That
let
meeting
it
will be
go.
March 7th,
Thanks.
so coordinate with Paula to advertise it.
All right, what do we got next?
Consent agenda, license applications, resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second the resolution.
Moved and second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Those licenses that have just been approved, there is 30 pages. So Randall Photography, R&R Roofing, Diversified Construction, Imagination Presentations, Silver Sparkle and Clean Housekeeping, Exclusive Tint, Debro Holdings, the parade license for St. Patty's Day Parade, that means spring's around the corner,
Thank God.
Balloons and novelties for Michael O'Connell, police constable license for Thomas P. Oates, and the Class F license for St. Anthony's Church. They've all been approved.
Consent agenda, correspondence. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters being referred to the proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, hereby is approved.
Move the resolution.
Today.
Second the resolution.
Moving second, any discussion? Just to give you a heads up, there's a City of Warwick resolution that's requesting that
We're gonna discuss
multi-unit
that,
rental housing be classified as non-smoking.
You know,
Good
I'm
luck
gonna,
with that. No, I'm not getting, but they just wanted us to support that, but
no, I don't
think we
I
should
don't
get in the
think
middle
we're
of
gonna tell people what to do in their own homes.
We also have a resignation letter. Also, this is what I wanted to go over, the Vince Lombardi Lodge. We usually donate,
Put an ad.
to put an ad in, it's $100. Does the council have any issues with that this year? We got our new picture tonight.
That's a full-
Am I gonna get it in time?
Oh,
Well,
you can,
we
he
gotta
can
tell
have it ready
Steve.
for, if he can send you
Yeah.
a proof tomorrow on,
Just send it in.
Okay.
I'll make sure we get it.
just call the
get it in the
photographer
book.
that we had our picture
Yeah,
taken
just
tonight.
call-
He'll
call
give you,
Steve.
he'll
Right.
give you a electronic copy. We don't need a brush, tell him we don't need a brushed up or anything.
Right. You're just
Speak for
going in the
yourself,
folder.
Councilman Gonson.
All right, so that's all we have there. Any comment? Any public comment?
We're not,
Hearing none?
we're not voting on that,
No, just a vote on
resolution support.
correspondence, yeah. No, it's just correspondence, this is just, so you, I'm not putting that on the agenda.
No, because I would have to do a whole new
Yeah, no,
resolution.
no, I don't support that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Purchase of a new vehicle extraction equipment. Resolved that the town council here accepts the Department of Transportation Office of Highway Safety that was awarded to the West Warwick Fire Department. The grant amount is not to exceed $51,640. The grant award shall be used to purchase new vehicle extraction equipment for the Special Hazards Unit.
I'll, move the resolution for discussion.
I'll second the resolution.
Moving second, discussion. Chief,
Good evening.
how you doing?
Good. I don't know if you remember, actually, three of you don't remember, back in October, there was approval to accept the grant. We have moved forward, department, and demoed 3 different type of extrication power tools.
Chief, explain to them what that is.
Well, I can give you a new state-of-the-art extrication equipment. This is home. I wish I had more of those.
I know what it is.
It's for highway accidents. We even got stabilizers for tip-overs, trucks to stabilize while my crews are working on the scene to keep their safety intact. And the state gets federal money, the DOT. Actually, it was kind of hard to find. I heard through the grapevine it was available and put in for it. They gave us up to about $51,000 to spend on the equipment. And after demoing the 3 different manufacturers, Hamatro, they're made in the USA, fit our needs the best and least expensive for the same tools. So using the nationwide MPA, mass purchasing agreement, we got all the equipment we needed and a little bit more. They approved that I could, the state approved that I can get things I didn't put on our list as long as we stayed under the $51,000. And the total came to $47,504. Our share of this, the town has to pay 25%, and which is $11,800 for all
Well, we
that
have-
equipment.
we
We
have
do
that
have the
money.
money in our capital account, and recently we're reimbursed $17,000 from another grant we got for the generator at the youth center. So,
It makes a wash.
yeah,
I'll tell you, this is, I know personally with that Jaws of Life, many fire departments come down to my salvage yard and practice on the cars, I'll tell you.
and we appreciate the
is-
local yards donating cars.
It is amazing what the lives that thing could save. It cut anything. It goes through anything. It's just, it's something that is for the citizens of this town that if they use it once, it's well worth, if it was 500,000, so.
And if you
I'm
notice-
Totally for this.
It's one of those items we
There's
hope
no
we don't ever
hydraulic
have to
lines
use.
anymore.
No,
It's quicker, my guys, you just grab it off the truck and just go right to work.
before you had to hook the whole thing up.
You had to hook
put
everything
the
up,
pumps
or
underneath.
blow a hydraulic line, or,
Now, the old stuff, do
With-
they
with
take
no-
it in trade, or do we still
no,
keep it as
no, we're gonna
backup?
keep it. What we're gonna do is, if one truck happens to be out of service, another truck will have some of that equipment on the truck, or use that for training and not beat up
The new one.
the new one. But we will, I will invite all of you, I don't know when our trainings will begin with this, when the weather breaks, once I
If you guys
receive all
never
the,
seen it, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
It's
it's
something
enough.
for you guys to do.
unfortunately, it's during the day.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a heads up when, maybe we can video some of it too.
Again, it's one of those items we hope we never have to use, but when we do, it's here.
Believe it or not, my 8.5 years here, we've used it a lot, out on the highway, I mean, even off the main roads here.
If you let me know ahead of time, we can stream it online if you want. If that's something you want to do.
You're the man for that.
Oh.
So I was
So
just
they
seeking
say.
your approval to move forward and purchase the equipment.
Any other comment?
I just feel it's a no-brainer. Let's just go with it.
Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
One thing I want to say, I want to thank you, Chief. I know we got over $1 million in grants since you've been here. The chief he's a wizard at getting these grants. He sniffs the money out, and he'll call or he'll come by. Look what I found. Look what I found. He's all excited about it, but it doesn't go unnoticed, Chief. I personally want to thank you for going the extra mile and finding these and caring enough to help the town out, and I thank you.
Well, thank you, and I will thank my couple of guys that helped me out with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Ordinance number 2016-15, second reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Licenses and Business Regulations, the Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick by adding thereto Article 13, Tobacco Dealers License and Sale Restrictions.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second the ordinance.
Moving second, any discussion?
This is the tobacco dealers that you gave first reading to. As a matter of fact, when I walked in tonight, Colonel McGarrett said to me that he is completely satisfied with the language as it now stands, so I'm asking for second reading approval.
I looked through it, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, same thing, Chief McGarrett told me, and and again, I want to thank everybody who was involved in this process. It was a good 6 to 8 months worth of work for the children at the West Warwick High School, which is sad, which is Students Against Destructive Decisions, and
I have to say that I've probably been doing your ordinances now for 10 years, and I've been active in this kind of stuff when I was over in East Greenwich on the zoning board and the planning board. I've never had such kind of cooperation, if you will, or input from an outside group that I received in the process. Every time I sent you people an amendment or a change, I got responses within a day or two of comments, and not only responses, but I got advice as, hey, you missed this in the statute, and it was tremendous help
No,
that
that-
I received from them.
I'm going to butcher the name, but John, it's Benvita? Benvinda. She's from Rhode Island. Is she here tonight? She's from Rhode Island. She's from the state. She's in the state of Rhode Island. Tobacco,
Yeah.
anti-tobacco, whatever it may be. I'm trying to think of the exact title. But she was very involved in the school department, along with Judith Chick and Kimberly Main, and many students. I think there was a total of 20 to 25 students that were involved in this ordinance altogether. And they hosted a couple of dinners, invited all of us.
That's my only disappointment. I got invited to several of them, and I wasn't here.
And it was homemade meatballs, homemade everything. It was they did a very good job, and like you said, they were very involved. So congratulations to them. I know what they're doing now. Once it's passed, they're going to meet with the children who all worked on it and let them know that it passed and that their hard work actually brought this to fruition, and to teach the kids that they can make a difference if they work hard at it.
I may be out of order, but I don't think it'd be out of place for the council just to send a letter to the to one of the
A thank you letter.
a thank you letting you can say that, you know, the town solicitor or town legal counsel appreciated the help you got.
Thank you. With that being said, any public comment? Didn't bring out any stores either, huh? Hearing none, I gotta take a roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Ordinance passed.
Resolution for tobacco fees and charges.
Is that another resolution, ordinance?
It's a resolution.
Resolution.
Pass the, move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Move to second, discussion, again, this
This
is.
just establishes the fee that when I presented it for first reading, I said that I didn't want to come up with a resolution until I got your feedback, and your feedback at that point in time was similar to the other business licenses of $100 for the initial registration and $25 for the renewals. This will then go into the Appendix B, I believe it is, where all the fees the town charges are listed.
So just clarifying, this is,
Hey,
this is,
feeling all right?
Yeah, all right, I'm all right. Thank you. I'm feeling sick, but I'll be okay.
You weren't looking too good there for a second.
I know. I was
Thanks for
watching it.
noticing. I'll be okay, thank you.
sure?
You want to open the doors?
No, I'm good.
Actually, can we open that door anyway? It's supposed to be
Yeah.
open.
I have a window open.
Actually, I'll be right
Thank
back.
you.
Excuse me.
All right, so again, this is no additional
Yeah, that's what I was gonna clarify.
fees. This is the original fee that we have in West Warwick. It's $100
Well,
first time.
Yeah, the thing is that, as the Councilman McGarrett, Angelo and Dave know, we converted from our fees from ordinances to a fee schedule by resolution. This will just add a tobacco license fee to that whole list of resolutions. And it's the same fee that we charge for businesses that aren't otherwise.
Yeah, we had discussed that. I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
was exactly what this was.
No,
That's what that
it
is.
wasn't, this wasn't, that's why, I want to make that clear. This is not to generate any new revenue.
No.
What this was to do was to keep chewing tobacco, flavored tobacco, and all that off the front counters of stores that sell candy at the front counters, so kids don't have the opportunity to grab it, take off, do whatever they want,
Yeah.
or even happen to buy it. So that's all this is to protect the children of West Warwick and any other town that comes into this town, that they don't have access to these tobacco products, that especially anybody who got to smell these bubble gum and grape and strawberry tobacco products, they smell like candy. We don't want kids getting their hands on it and becoming addicted. If we keep it out of their hands at a young age, hopefully as they get older, they stay away and they don't touch it ever. So.
And those numbers are primarily administrative charges that cover the cost of
And that's the other thing too that group did for us. They saved us a lot of legwork, and they provided every single store in the town of West
Yeah.
Warwick that sells tobacco. We don't.
But
gotta-
Do you
gotta
have a
take
number on that
list.
resolution?
Excuse me?
No, I'll have it tomorrow.
So, any other discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now you got a long night here, man.
Yeah.
Ordinance number 2017-1, second reading, and ordinance amending Appendix C, traffic ordinance of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
I'll second the ordinance.
Moving second. Discussion.
Second reading for the 2-hour parking at 656 Providence Street and the sharp curve ahead sign to replace the yield sign at Stevens and Brookdale Drives.
This is all my ward
All
that
Angelo's
we
ward.
requested. The only one that we did it for, and it's not there no more, was Dewey's.
Yep.
And,
That's
I
why they
mean-
went with 2 hours.
excuse me?
That's why they went with 2 hours
Well, they
as opposed to no
we
parking.
kept
Right.
we kept it 2 hours
Yeah.
because we don't know what's
What's
gonna
gonna
go back in
happen,
there.
so it's already there in effect, and whatever happens.
Any other discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
This is the 2-hour.
This is the
Yes.
ordinance for the traffic.
2-hour
Yes.
parking on Providence Street.
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Mr. President, I would ask that you move item number Q up to be heard now. It's another traffic ordinance.
I'll make a motion to move Q
I
for the
second.
next agenda
No,
item.
yeah, the
Up
next-
Move
up
it
on
up.
the next agenda item.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're on cue, Paul.
Ordinance number 2017-6, first reading an ordinance amending Appendix C, traffic ordinance of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, discussion?
Traffic Committee recommends at 29 Epworth Avenue have a no parking to the corner sign on the west side of Epworth Avenue at number 29.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly where it is, and I just asked Councilman Messier.
Yeah,
This was something that was brought up a long time ago, it just never was addressed.
yeah, recently.
Well, it had to go through the traffic commission.
Yeah, I believe Freddie Gill went by there and checked it out, right?
It's a tough corner. Any public discussion?
Freddie, you sleeping back there?
Carl?
Yeah, he's got to get his rest in for tomorrow, right?
Town Sergeant, watch him.
All right, hearing none. Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
I
M.
lost my spot, Al.
We can't confuse her, you know.
Ordinance number 2017-2, first reading an ordinance amending section 8-12 of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
I'll second.
I was before the council, I don't know, a week or so, a couple of weeks ago, and the question of when you're going to allow the rubbish pickup to begin. What we had done, the ordinance that's before you now, was trying to bring it into compliance with the prior ordinance, saying it would start at 6 o'clock as opposed to 7 o'clock. There was a great deal of discussion as to what the council had done with that prior ordinance. I reviewed your hearing, and the history, the background to it was that when that prior ordinance was prepared regarding the hiring a company to pick up the rubbish, it was presented to you, it was tabled, and it went to another hearing. On March 1st of 2016, there were two ordinances before you. There was ordinance 2015-7, and there was ordinance 2015-7 as amended. The tape I listened to today, after the first hearing, there was a long, Councilman Giroux took the lead and discussed a 2-hour work session regarding 2015-17 as amended, which is the ordinance that went into effect. I was not at that meeting. Mr. Williamson informed the council that 2015-17 was just put on to get rid of it. It had been continued and passed. The council voted on 2015-7 as amended. There were comments within that meeting, particularly from Councilman Giroux, that ordinance was exactly as it had come out of the council's 2-hour work session. I have submitted to all of the councilmen page 3, where in that ordinance, your time of pickup was changed from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So the ordinance that is before you tonight is just bringing another pickup ordinance in compliance with it so that everything will say 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock. I know Councilman Padula raised the question thought that it had been, you had agreed to 7 o'clock when in fact you had agreed to 6 o'clock.
We did agree.
Yes, I listened to the tape. I listened to the tape
Was
today.
I sleeping that day?
No, I ate crow after I
You were
went home.
quiet.
You were sleeping. It was 6:30, so you weren't up. It was 7.
You were quiet that night. It was
Really?
Councilman Giroux.
Me? You sure I was here?
No, you were quiet though.
Yeah, there was not a word from you.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a word in edgewise.
Councilman Giroux was on fire that night. He just kept going and going
Yeah.
and going.
You don't
And
remember
we
that?
just sat there like this.
That's why I probably forgot what we were thinking about.
But we did approve 6 o'clock for the contract, so we're kind of in a pickle there now. The only thing I want to say is if they stop picking up at 5:30 in the morning,
Oh, we stopped that. It's gotta be 6, no earlier. So we gotta-
I don't want to, this is the last thing I want to hear is, that they're coming in at 5:30 now, because we gave it till 6.
Yeah.
6 o'clock, they should be pulling into town. Not 6 o'clock.
Don't look at me. Look at Gil. I got nothing to do with it.
I just prepared this stuff. Gil picked
Freddie, what time you go in the morning?
Myself?
Yeah,
Take the
6:30. What are you, in the union?
So I guess I'm asking the 2017-2 be approved for first reading.
Any other comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I want to say no, but I'm
I
going
know.
to go
We already, it's too late.
It's on the record.
Caught us sleeping on that one. I think we blame Giroux for that one.
Ordinance number 2017-3, first reading, an ordinance amending section 3 and 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
I'll second the ordinance.
I had previously sent you, all the council members, a memorandum regarding this one and the next one. The state did some amending to the state statutes. The first section, we don't have a definition in our zoning code of what disabilities are, so I took the state language and put in a definition of disabilities. The second one, section 5.6.10, the state statute says that, and I'll just use the example, that if a house burns down, we have to allow them to put a trailer on till it burns, and it's a year basis. That wasn't in our zoning code. The language that I presented to you is the exact language out of the state statute that says this is what you gotta do. You gotta allow people to have that temporary, I'll call it temporary residence. And the third section of tonight, that ordinance that I'm presenting to you, is 5.6.16.21. They amended our, I'll just refer to them as in-law apartments, so that basically if they're over 62, if a person's over 62 in the family, we gotta say yes. That's in a nutshell. And again, the language that I'm submitting to you is language that is the state statute. It's exactly the same as the state statute.
Al, can you say that once again? If the person's over 62 for what?
An in-law apartment.
In-law apartment, you have to grant it?
Yes.
Pretty much so.
applies to.
So there's no more coming to the zoning, getting approval to make another kitchen or another bedroom?
I think they have to come to make sure that they're following our code, but we can't.
They
We
still have to
can't.
provide
We
plans,
can't.
and it
So
still has to be specific to the
they,
ordinance.
you know, they gotta follow the ordinance in the regulations.
Yeah, but they don't need them to approve it. It's already approved. They just gotta put the plans in to
Yeah,
approve the
yeah.
plans.
Any other discussion? Any questions for Al? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2017-4, first reading, an ordinance amending sections 3, 5.3, 5.20, 17.5.2 relating to medical marijuana of the West Warwick zoning code of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the resolution, ordinance, sorry.
I'll second.
Moving second, discussion. Al?
By the way, that last ordinance that you just gave first reading to, and this one, by state statute and by ordinances, they have to go to planning for zoning changes before they come to you. And planning met last night, and planning sends favorable recommendations to that one and the one I'm about to present. Again, I submitted to you a memorandum some time ago regarding this. What happened, I get into some background on it. Several years ago, the state passed an ordinance regarding medical marijuana. In that ordinance, they set up 3 categories. They set up compassion centers, they set up card holders or caregivers. The compassion center being the one who commercially grows marijuana and sells it. The card holder or the caregiver, the card holder grows marijuana for his or her own use. The caregiver grows marijuana for a couple of card holders. The third category was a cooperative cultivator. The cooperative cultivator was 3 or 4 of us who had our cards, got together, and we were growing in a cooperative, a much larger operation. When we drafted an ordinance for that statute, we provided that the compassion centers, which there are only 3 in the state, if we were gonna get one, because it was strictly a commercial operation, growing marijuana under tight security and selling it out, had to be in a CI zone. The state statute said the others, the cardholder, the caregiver, and the cooperative cultivator, we couldn't limit them. They could be anywhere they wanted. So as a result, we put that into our ordinance, and we presented all of the regulations and everything else for that to happen. What in fact was happening, that the cardholders, the caregivers, and the cooperative cultivators were growing too much marijuana for their own use, so they were selling it to the compassion centers, who apparently weren't growing enough. So rather than the state just saying compassion centers grow more, or we'll authorize you to do what you're doing, they said, we're going to create a new category. It's called licensed cultivator. And you people that are cooperative cultivators who have been selling to the compassion centers, you can't sell it anymore. So these people have spent some money in their investment. Now they're stuck. They got all this extra marijuana. They can't sell it because they're not licensed cultivators. So we started, now, okay, where do we go with this? We got to create a new category. And initially, Mark and I felt, well, that new category is going to be strictly a commercial operation, like the Compassion Center. So we're going to limit it to the CI district, because they're not going to have traffic. They're going to sell only to Compassion Centers. Then I think she's here tonight, Lisa Holly, a young lady, an attorney, contacted us. She represents a number of these people who represent the cooperative cultivators, and Mark Carullo's office, a daily basis, he's
We're getting more and more calls, Alan, and it's confusing. I don't know what to tell them.
We got a lesson on me. I know specifically talking to Councilman Goslin, we got a lesson in marijuana.
So what happened is,
Yeah, I got the same call.
with the genius of the state, it's being controlled by DBR. These people that are the cooperative cultivators, they go to DBR and they say, and the statute says, you got to get approval from us, but you also got to comply with the zoning code. Well, we didn't have any provisions for them in the zoning code. So they go to DBR, and they go through the whole process. They spend a lot of money bringing their operation up to date, and then they come over and DBR says, well, you're approved all the way. We'll go get a zoning certificate, but they come over to the town of West Warwick and say, you can't have one, because you're not authorized. So now we were in a real bind. What do we do with them? So at that point in time, the matter gets worse. Most of them, none of them are in the CI zone. And the only place we're going to allow them is in the CI zone, and the state has given them all kinds of approval. They've spent a ton of money, and they got no place to go. So we put in the grandfather clause, that if you were approved prior to this ordinance, if you got a fire department approval of your building, if you got a building permit prior to your building, and if the state has given you so far all your approvals, you can go to Mark Carullo and show him all of these approvals. He will then send a letter to the building official, and the building official will say, okay, even though you're not in the CI district, because you've got all of this done before the effective date, we're going to allow you to be where you are.
But let me explain something to me, because I'm not against any of this. What I'm against is having these growers in a residential area. I don't think that if it was next door to my house, I wouldn't like my son or my nieces knowing what's going on, constant traffic.
I think it's the
State
opposite. I
statutes-
think it's the opposite of that.
No,
I think
The
I
state
just don't
statute said we
think.
can't stop it.
No, but we didn't give them the okay because they weren't regulated at the time to grandfather them.
No, they had to come in.
In other words, this council okayed John
No, Angela.
Doe
Supplying
to
demand
grow on
changed.
River Street.
The economics of supply and demand changed.
Angela, what happened was, when they passed that first Hawksley-Slater Act, they said if you're a cardholder, if you're a caregiver or if you're a cooperative cultivator, town of West Warwick, you can't regulate. They can operate anywhere.
They're protected by HIPAA. We're not even supposed to technically know where they
We're
are.
not even supposed to.
No, I understand that.
Your next
but-
ordinance is going, to see that aspect of it. So when they came in, the only thing we could do was send the fire marshal out to make sure that, because this is a big operation with the electric and the hydros and everything else, and we could send a building official out to do that. So they could operate next door to you, and there's nothing we could do about it as long as they met the code. Your next ordinance, you're gonna see that I've even tightened up the fact that we can't say anything. And the point that I dealt with the gentleman from DBR who has approved this ordinance, and he was very appreciative to the town of West Warwick, because we were one of the few towns, he said, that was working with him to get this done the way. His concern was that these people have to be so well protected. He said, we got a problem. You're saying they gotta go for a special use permit, and so how do you go to a special use permit? You say to the zoning board, I want a special use permit, but I can't tell you where I am or who I am. That was basically it. And the secrecy of this thing, and there's so much cash involved, is that he made me write into the, I don't know if it's this ordinance or the next one, when they go before say it's somebody new coming in to be a licensed cultivator, when they go before zoning, the only thing that we are allowed to see on their plans are the outsides of their building to show setbacks and that. We are not allowed to show anything interior to the building because the cash flow in this business is so great and there's so much marijuana, they don't want anybody to know that if I go through that window, that's where the cash is. So we can't even show that. This is a mess. And the only thing I can tell you is that I worked with Mark, I worked with Lisa, I worked with the man from the Department of Business Regulations, and we've gotten approval of all of this. I hate it, but I'm asking you to approve it.
I just don't.
And the one thing I'll mention too is one of the reasons with the grandfathering as well is that there was a case in South Kingstown,
Yes.
in downtown Wakefield, where the town denied them. It was a cooperative cultivator, had been operating, had been selling to the compassion centers, and South Kingston denied them, and they lost the court case. They said they're grandfathered, you cannot deny them based upon the state law.
One of the things that I brought up in the conversations I had with the individuals that called me on this, and I just want to make it clear that they're already existing.
It's not something new. It's been there. It's been in operation.
So-
Nothing's changing.
Everything is already existing. Their building's already there. Some people know it's there. Some people know it's not there. So, but the biggest difference was as of January 1st, when the state law changed, they were not able to sell to cultivators. So that's why, and Fred and I had a brief discussion. I know Fred was kind of against having it right here in the Arctic District. At that point, I did ask the question over the phone, what would it take for you to move? It'd take a year and a half, plus thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to move and reorganize. So that's when I had talked to Fred and saying, possibly, I understand you don't want it here, but they're already here, they've already been approved, they've gone through their inspections, that we grandfather them in, but there's no additional coming into the Arctic District or whatever it may be.
No.
Can you explain exactly where the CI zone is?
Commercial industrial.
But where does that? That's
So
any
anywhere
place
there's
where there's
commercial
any
industrial.
place where there's.
You could have mixed use.
Mixed use.
You could have a property that has residential in the
And
front.
commercial.
And commercial industrial in the back.
Okay.
So.
No, I don't think the residential would have commercial industrial.
I got a situation in
It'd have
Crompton.
commercial, not
Actually, I got a
industrial.
situation in Crompton right now that somebody brought to me last night. They have a multifamily house, and because it's mixed use in the back, they can't turn that into a house. So I gotta actually.
Yeah, commercial, I don't
Well,
think
that's what I'm
there's
saying. Angela,
industrial.
it's the opposite of what Angela, your concern was that if it's near a house, but it's the opposite of that. We're going to be allowing it in the future in areas that are near houses but not near businesses. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
But now, Al, who's gonna regulate them? DBR's regulating them? So in other words, if they break the law or if somebody says, there's more action than what it's supposed to be,
Well,
DBR, now
let me say
what
that-
jurisdiction do we have?
I think that
And
Yes.
what happens if they are
All
violating?
right, I think that there is, under this new rule or law, I think there is gonna be a little more control, because the cooperative cultivator was highly secretive. We couldn't know where he was, and again, when I get to the next ordinance, you're gonna see what I put into it. That we had no right to know about these people. Now, as a licensed cultivator, they're gonna be licensed, they gotta go before zoning, they gotta go before planning. We're gonna know who they are and where they are. These people that are now shifting from cooperative cultivator to licensed cultivator, they're basically gonna become public again. Now, as far as the enforcement of marijuana statutes, how many plants or what have you, that's a state problem. That's, I would assume that if our
So
police.
if our police department gets a call,
Angelo,
They won't, though.
if
They
I
won't know. They
might,
won't
based
see
upon what's going on,
Yeah,
Police- police
could
and
I
fi-
ask Lisa to come up? She represents a number of these people that she can tell you from their side of the story.
But we're only
But
grandfathering 3, correct? Is that
I
right?
don't know how many were grandfathered. Members of council, this is Lisa Holly, she's an attorney.
oh,
And
Lisa.
she represents a number of,
I can only speak to the 3 that I represent. I believe that is the amount that are being grandfathered. I can speak to the issues of regulation, and I think this might make you feel better. Moving to the licensed cultivator is actually more regulated. It's very strict. DBR will have 24/7 access to the entire operation by way of security cameras that they can, DBR can dial in through their computers at home and see what's going on 24/7. They have full access to inspection, where previously any of the cultivators operated behind their closed doors. It's a much more regulated industry. And the purpose that DBR did this is to resolve the black market of marijuana that was going out. Medical marijuana is viewed as medicine. Some of you that actually know me know my career was in law enforcement. I was the chief legal counsel for the Department of Public Safety and State Police for many years, so I was over on that side.
From the Warwick people.
Absolutely. I know
Those years
we've
ago.
known each other for many years,
Many.
and I've always been on the law enforcement side of things. And to me, it's ironic that today I'm representing medical marijuana cultivators
you're
because
still on the side of law enforcement.
I always will be.
Marijuana's not
It
bad
is.
anymore.
No, I met with patients when I was with the state police, and I realized, my God, to say no to people who need medical marijuana to thrive, to deal with end-of-life issues and pain, and to say that, marijuana is bad is just the wrong thing to do. So my 3 clients are existing cultivators in West Warwick, have been here, have been operating lawful businesses in your town. The 3 of them are in the revitalization district. Obviously, I can't identify the addresses, but they have been operating here. And when the DBR changed the regulations and went to licensed cultivators, they made extreme investments, tens of thousands of dollars to be in compliance with DBR. And they are all preliminarily approved to be licensed cultivators. The only thing holding them up right now is this glitch with West Warwick. So what is happening is that the 3 businesses are approved. The new amendments allow for licensed cultivators only in the commercial industrial zones, which they're not in. And they've acted in reliance on the previously granted COs that they got when they were cooperative cultivators, which, as Mr. DiFiore explained, were a group of growers that grew for medical marijuana patients. And they moved along in reliance, thinking that they would get a CO from the town now that they're licensed cultivators. They were cultivators before, but for that nomenclature of licensed cultivators. And then at the time that they got those COs, if you look at your language in your statute, it says, 9C1 says, notwithstanding any other provision of this zoning code, medical marijuana cultivation and cooperative cultivation are permitted uses within all zoning districts of the town of West Warwick. So they were operating totally permissively with your zoning code, but there was no such thing as a licensed cultivator. So now, as of this date, DBR is awaiting, I'm sorry, Mr. DiFiore, DBR is awaiting a letter from the town saying that they are permitted to do business where they are located. So I'm here working in conjunction with zoning officials and Mr. Carullo, and I have to say that in all the jurisdictions I have worked, they have been extremely helpful and have listened to the plight of these three businesses to look at the grandfathering provision. So I'm urging this board to hear their plea and to allow them to maintain. Sir?
Comment on something that Angela said about control. Lisa's here. When we first started to talk, we had a problem because her clients went to Mark and wanted to know what they could do. Her clients could not come before you because they couldn't tell you who they were or where they were operating. They had to have a lawyer who could come before you and say, I can't tell you who my clients are. I can't tell you what their operation's going to be because that's all confidential. So I'm here on their behalf. Under the new law, we'll know who they are and where they are.
I actually asked that they not come tonight and sit with me because as we all know, it has to be confidential because these businesses are targeted because they do have, some precious goods.
What makes them different than a drugstore, opening up a drugstore and them selling narcotics, hard narcotics?
It's called the wisdom of the legislature. Mr. Williams.
Right.
So somebody's got to have their hands in this pot, and we're with the wrong people, I guess.
The only question I have is with the amendment to the law and DBR's involvement, does the town lose locally any ability to inspect upon a complaint, either through a building, police, or fire?
No, because the officials have gone. One of my clients has done some additional work to the existing property. And the fire official has gone in, the building official.
Annual inspections or inspections when needed or required. Local people can still get in.
What I was knowing. They have
Thank
to,
you.
they have to follow all zoning code.
The issue would be not notifying abutters, not standing here and asking and having the public.
If there was a complaint, let's say, we don't know where it is, but, for example, a neighbor complained excessive parking in a very reduced spot. The town would be able to go in there.
Especially now, because under the license, they're no longer confidential, they're public.
But what I'm trying to get at is if you've got a parking situation, if
Yes.
people's houses are, or their parking spaces on the street are being inundated
Yes.
and they can't park, the town can look into that.
Absolutely.
So going
So
forward.
Hold on one second.
Sorry.
Sorry. So I just want to make sure I understand what we're actually grandfathering. So essentially, are we grandfathering these three particular businesses?
don't know
Let me
whether
just finish the
they're-
question now. Sorry. So three particular businesses, the actual location that they're in? Because currently my understanding is they're under a micro license, or they'll have a micro license of about 50 plants, and then eventually if they go for say a Class A license, they get 250 plants, and then the Class B is 500 plants. So my question is, if they need a bigger location, do they still get to stay in the commercial area? I mean, the business area. They get to stay where they are.
The other question, Jay, go ahead.
And just to clarify, they're all pre-approved from Class B licenses, not a
Which is the
micro license.
500, correct?
5,000.
Now, Lisa,
5,000?
the
No, square
license,
foot. It
Oh,
goes by
square foot.
square foot.
Okay.
Lisa, the
Yes.
license doesn't stay on the property, it stays with the person.
That's
No,
correct?
they're.
Is
they're-
it transferable?
Like, does this-
That's what,
The license, so DVR is very strict as to the licensure. So it's that property that's inspected, it's that property that DVR is licensing.
So if they outgrow the location, they may not
be able to stay
Be able
there.
So if
move in
they
that
want
area,
to
they'd
then
have to go
move
out to
somewhere
wherever.
else,
They have to
it's
get the
it's a
okay.
new approval.
So that brings me to my question. If somebody comes forward in the future,
And that grandfather runs out.
no, but not
Grandfather
even that, just outside of the CI zone, like, does that come in front of the council now? How does that work? If somebody wants to
We're
become,
not, we're gonna regulate them where they're gonna go from now on.
Planning and zoning.
no, but,
They're gonna be
but it's
regulated
public,
now.
but it's public now, that's what I'm saying. In the past, it didn't go through any of us, right? It
Well,
was
they don't
through-
have to tell them what
For
it is.
cultivators. So my next question is, as we're grandfathering this in for whatever it is, 3 or 4 businesses,
Once they're
is
done,
it
it's over.
transferable on, so if, let's say
Same location.
Johnny's Marijuana Store, I'm just throwing this out there,
Gonna go to Bobby's.
It's a great name.
says, I'm gonna sell my business to Frankie. It doesn't transfer.
Well,
They
Or
can't move
does
into
it?
the same location.
I would
In the
think,
same
I
lot.
would think that
If Frankie,
if the DVR says,
I'm gonna tell you, this is what it sounds like, a salvage yard. I have a salvage yard. My license is non-transferable. It's been in the family for 100 years. So I'm grandfathered in what the rules were 80 years ago. Now, I cannot sell that business to Lisa Holly or Al DiFiore. The corporation never dies. You can change the corporation owners. So this is probably gonna be the same, laws that DBR puts on me, because I'm regulated by DBR. That corporation will never end, because I could buy that from that certain person if he outgrows it, and I'm still grandfathered in at that same location. Only that person has to go somewhere else if he decides to go somewhere else, am I correct?
I believe you're right. I don't, I know that the DBR is very strict as far as the corporate entity. I can't speak specifically about transferring.
Yeah, it's a hassle. It's a big hassle.
as to location, I think that our grandfather clearly takes care of that, because to get the approval for the location, they have to show the town planner a certificate of occupancy having been granted prior to now. So they get a certificate of occupancy for this building. So that if they wanna go to another building, they're gonna then have to follow the procedure of planning board, zoning board, special use permit to get the operation as a licensed cultivator. And at that point in time, they're gonna have to go to the CI zone.
So Al, if, trying to understand all this, if there's 3 grandfathered at 3 locations right now, and number 2 wants to move into the CI zone and leave their building vacant, number 4 comes in, can they move into that existing building that's already set up for this?
No, I would say no, because the way my grandfather provision reads, is shall upon presentation to the planning director, verification of such approvals from the fire marshal, the building official, and a certificate of occupancy, those are granted,
they wouldn't have those, yeah.
they
But-
wouldn't have them.
Right, but could they also
what
apply?
they could do, I believe, is they can apply, this is following up your question, if they go through DBR, and DBR says, you're okay, everything, you meet all the criteria, now they wanna move into where 2 was.
Correct.
Now they have to come before the town, show them that they have the approval, and then they request to the town whether or not they can go in with the same exact terms and conditions. And then they're gonna
I don't
argue
think
that
that,
it was grandfathered.
I don't
in.
think they can go over the,
That's gonna be
be
resolved.
grandfathered. I
That's
don't
gonna
think
be-
they could.
no, no,
That'll be
that's gonna
resolved in
in
because it's
courts.
grandfathered to that certain individual,
Right.
or
What
certain
I'm
corporation.
saying
It's
is-
not grandfathered
Right.
for every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
That'll be resolved in the courts, because what they're gonna petition, they're gonna say, it's the exact same thing. Instead of having Lisa Holly be the head of it, and now it's Al DiFiore, we're not changing everything. The town's gonna be within its rights to say no,
You know,
and someone's gonna challenge it.
there's always gonna be a legal way where they can get around it, where it is grandfathered.
But what Tim
Grandfathering
is saying
is
is
not
that
the same way it used to be, because now you have a more open and liberal court system that says, wait a minute, if Lisa Holly could do the same thing for 20 years, and now Lisa's gonna retire and sell her business to Al, and Al's gonna do the exact same thing,
Well, that's
you're gonna
where,
be, you're gonna be hard pressed to say, no, you can't.
You're right.
Yeah, but what's gonna happen is what Tim has just said, is they're gonna come before zoning, and zoning's gonna say, no. You're no, go CI.
Right.
we
You don't
deny it.
fall into
Then
it.
they're gonna go to the court, and it depends on what judge you
So
get.
what happens if in 12 months,
And who wants it?
12 months marijuana becomes legal, then what happens as far as this?
Well, I get paid to redo this.
If the law-
Because I'm saying-
No, if the law changes, if the law- let's say marijuana becomes completely legal, there's no issue regarding decriminalizing
You know what's
it.
gonna
It's
happen.
completely legal, it's a cash crop.
It's happening.
Everyone's gonna be able to grow marijuana in their
Right.
backyard like they grow corn.
Right.
You can't stop.
Well, depending on how the
it.
No,
It
doesn't matter.
make a
Once
difference.
it's legal,
If
they're
it
gonna-
becomes legal and there's
personal
nothing
grow.
criminal about it, you're gonna be able to grow it in your own backyard. Then the fun will start.
Get your rototiller.
So basically, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, but by the time we get all the bugs out of this, it's all gonna be legal.
That's what I mean. I mean, we're making a ruling on this,
Right.
and the law could change in
It's
few
not-
by June or whenever, you know.
And that's what happened here, was
Every
they were
90
able to do it,
days,
in January
every
1st, the
90
law
days,
changed.
Every
Yeah.
90 days, you're
And
gonna
what
be seeing
happened,
differences.
by the time we found out about it, we didn't find out about it until the cooperative government started.
I'll tell you what you're hearing on the street is the regular drug dealer that's selling a pound of marijuana for $2,000 on the street. If he gets legal and does it legal, he sells it to the compassion center for $4,000. So it's not worth him dealing on the street anymore. So they're doing what they set out to do.
Felix,
Yes. Just one question.
state your name and address for the record.
2000 is tax free though.
If there is a commercial piece of property with 4 tenants, and that business comes in, are they going to disclose? Now, each tenant needs a certain amount of parking, they run a business, and they're entitled to know that. Will they disclose how much parking they need and what happens when they go way over?
No, they'd have to with zoning and planning.
Will they disclose
Yeah.
the amount of parking that they need?
They'd have to.
They follow a strict rule right through.
Right, so if they need too much parking, if they grow extremely large and they need too much parking, what's gonna
Well,
happen?
correct me if I'm wrong here.
People aren't coming. It's not
I
a
was just
store.
gonna say,
Yeah.
it's not a store where people pull up,
Yeah.
and it's not like you're going up to CVS and having 30, 40 people show up at your
Okay.
door. It's
They are only
it's
allowed.
the employees.
They are only allowed to sell to compassion center.
Yes.
So you're not gonna have.
Okay, all right.
So you're gonna have employees only and possibly.
It's not a
somebody-
store. It's not a storefront.
I understand, all right.
The only one thing that I would add, and I don't even know if this is appropriate, but I know that the process is a second reading and a second vote, but I would urge at this point, if this is the direction the council is taking, I would urge that you would direct the officials to go ahead and issue these letters, that they are suited,
Not until the ordinance passes.
even with the language, the existing language allows cultivation in all zones.
Yeah, I think you're gonna run into too much confusion. My suggestion would be is that if you get a positive vote of the council tonight for second reading, it's gonna be positive, and then, what do we got, 10 days until it becomes 20 days.
When would the second reading be, March?
No, February.
Oh, okay,
February, and then it'd be 20
Because
days.
you've got
From
what, an
that.
April 1st deadline?
yes.
You're
That's
gonna,
the other catch.
What's the deadline?
If they don't get approved by April 1st, they can't do it.
Oh,
Well, they'll be approved by April
Yeah.
1st because
No, I'm
The
just saying
effective
that
date,
that's
the
that's
28th.
February 28th.
February 21, and then you
28th.
got. February 28th, sorry.
Plus 20 days on
School
top of that.
vacation.
we're not meeting.
And I'm
You guys
also,
already moved
I'm
it to
also
28th.
assuming if they don't obtain what they need, there's gonna be litigation.
Oh, yeah, we're having it on this one.
The only thing, once the council gives second reading and it goes into
You guys approved the
20
date.
days, they can show up and Mark can issue it the day,
Pursuant to what they've done.
like the 21st day.
We already put it in because we know.
I saw it in green because that's where I saw it.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
Any public
Thank you.
comment?
Thank you.
Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John stepped out. And I vote yes.
John's back.
John?
Yes.
John voted yes.
Ordinance number 2017-5, first reading, and ordinance amending Chapter 9C, medical marijuana growing facilities of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
This one came about because when I was dealing with Mr. Berenbaum at Department of Business Regulations, he was a little concerned about the privacy, situation, so all I did was, in the original, ordinance, it said, all permits, in furtherance of the acts. And I just added, and all documents. And we've instituted a situation, procedure where basically what happens for the caregivers, the card holders, those that are in the confidential area, the fire marshal goes out and does his inspection, issues a permit, the building official goes out, issues his permit. He was keeping those confidential. We've now worked out a situation where they're gonna be put in sealed, those records are not only gonna be confidential, they're gonna be sealed. And this just adds the confidentiality. And I think, Angela, when we came before the council one time about giving them permission to go in to make these regulations, you were concerned about the confidentiality. This just tightens it up and makes it, puts us more in compliance with the confidentiality statute, because there is liability that that the people are punishable if somebody accidentally goes into the building office and pulls out the wrong file and looks in it, we could incur liability for it. So that not only are we saying they're confidential, but we're sealing the documents, all the documents involved in the applications.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Claims. Resolved that the town council hereby denies the following claims against the town. Jeffrey Goslin, 207 Lockwood Street.
Goslin, not Goslin.
Coslin. I said Coslin. For the amount of $300. Devon T. Hall, 55 Breezy Lake Drive, Coventry, in the amount of $679.32. And Natanya Reed, 85 Helen Ave, Coventry, Rhode Island, with the amount of $188.18.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and second, discussion. Just to give you a heads up, Solicitor Williamson and I went through here, and with Paula and myself, just to be clear, Mr. Coslin's incident happened in the city of Warwick, not West Warwick. The second one and the third one didn't have enough documentation. Also, there was also one that says, I drive on all these roads and this is causing damage to my car. They used Webster Knight Drive, which has been paved. They did use Factory Street, Wakefield Street, Centerville Road, and they said that caused all the damage to their car. But there was no, it just said it caused the wear and tear on their car driving on West Warwick roads. So that's why these have been denied.
But now, let me ask you a question. This isn't our problem. This is Kent County Water's problem.
Correct.
Which
And I
they
directed
should
them
be
that way, too.
submitting the claims to them, because when it
Angelo,
comes time for my
Angelo,
water
just-
report.
Yeah, but just to give you a heads up, one of these individuals, and I forgot which one, said,
Yeah, I
with
seen
me
that.
driving on these roads, have put wear and tear on my car.
Well, it does,
Well,
but,
and avoid them roads then.
I mean, yeah, well, it's hard when you live there or have a
Wear
business
and
on
tear,
it.
but Angelo, you've been in the automobile business
ripping
your
apart.
entire life.
I understand,
You
Dave.
can't sit there and say, every road in West Warwick's causing wear and tear on my car, you're responsible for paying for it.
Well, I mean,
Mine too.
I don't know what you're doing in Coventry, you're driving in Warwick, they have
Right.
the same types of roads. Anything in the Northeast has the same type of roads. You can't tell me.
but what we should do, instead of getting involved in this, is just submit your claim to Kent County Water.
They're sending them back here.
I mean,
Kent County
we
Water
shouldn't
sending
even.
them here.
I have.
Well,
it on
Kent
my
County Water,
computer.
we're not doing the repair work, the garbage work that they've been doing, so that's on them
But
and
that's
not
the
us.
reason why we denied these. One happened in another town, the other two, one was just excessive wear, and the other one had no the paperwork was missing or something like that, so. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Bid award for Comprehensive Records Management System. Resolved that town council hereby approves the bid award for the Comprehensive Records Management System to Info Quick Solutions, Inc., 7460 Morgan Road, Liverpool, New York, 13090.
Move the resolution.
Moved and, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. One of the reasons why, and I'm waiting for mine to load up. I had a brief conversation with Mary Ann. Also, she sent us an email. There is one party in here, IQS, who, that's the one she is recommending.
No, she's recommending,
The other one.
Info Quick.
Solutions.
IQS, Info Quick Solutions.
Is that what you said? I'm
So
sorry,
she's-
I'm tired.
iOS.
No, IQS is the one she's recommending. The one that we have now,
Is ACS.
ACS, and even though they are a little cheaper, she also advised me of performance issues.
Dog
Also known
licenses
as
and all.
dog licenses not getting out, odds and ends, and a lot of, and she says no fault of the employees themselves, they were stuck in a bind basically because of the business itself. They never got any results, and she's been very unhappy with their performance over the past couple of years she's been here. So she's recommending, even though it's a little more per sheet,
How much does it come out more?
It's 40 cents a sheet more, but.
But how many sheets? So
That's
how much?
the question I asked.
It depends.
She
I
says
actually
they
didn't
average
have
right
an
now
answer.
between $1,000 and $3,000 a month for land evidence, and 2 cents for 2 or 4 cents for the dog licenses. So there's not much. There's no more in dog licenses, but she wants to make sure that, as everybody knows, a lot of people did not get their dog license renewals this year, and then our dog officer is going door to door and dropping off letters and notes and knocking on the doors, and we're wasting a lot of manpower when we can be getting, dead animals off the street and whatever else. So she's recommended IQS, and that was my conversation with her earlier tonight.
Are you registered?
Registered for what?
Dog license?
I don't have any dogs.
Come on. Jesus.
I don't have dogs. I got turtles.
Any other discussion on that? Any public discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes got it. You didn't catch that. You're still not getting what he said.
No, I got it, but I'm being nice.
All right.
She didn't get it, Dave.
I'm being recorded. I gotta be nice.
All right.
Resignation from the Library Board of Trustees. Resolved that the Town Council hereby acknowledges the resignation from Robert Martinez of the Library Board of Trustees for the Town of West Warwick.
Move the resolution.
I'll second.
Move a second. Unfortunately, Mr. Martinez actually lives in my ward. He was here when we appointed him. He can't make their meetings, so he had to resign. Wasn't that he wanted, so he'll probably be back, want to look for something else, it's probably after hours, but most of their meetings are at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he could not attend due to work. That being said, any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. If we could just send them a thank you letter, we can, he's on there very shortly, but.
Discussion action, Wind Energy System, sponsored by Council Vice President D'Amico.
So, I wanted to bring this before the council. We have 2 ordinances that this concerns. One specifically, in my opinion, which would be the telecommunications tower ordinance, which is 5-16. So, we are moving to be a green community. I am certainly for that. I think that it's important to be using renewable sources, alternative energy sources. But the problem that I have is with telecommunications tower ordinance specifically.
Not telecommunications, the wind ordinance.
Well, this is in terms of the height restrictions.
He's throwing both in.
So, we currently have an ordinance that allows for a telecommunications tower with a height restriction of 90 feet. And the problem with this is that it couldn't anticipate these 400-foot turbines that have gone before zoning in the past year. So my feeling is, and this is why I'm bringing it up, that we need to revisit this ordinance, maybe create some type of moratorium or even halt it in some way to rework it. There are a number of other things that should be considered as far as the areas that they're going into and how they're going to affect the residential neighborhoods. All sorts of things that should be studied as far as fall zones and the effects that these turbines have on surrounding homes and areas and how it might impact those areas. I've spoke at length to Solicitor Di Fiore. He's going to speak further on this. There's a 50-page document that, I guess this is an update, right? Correct? It's called the Rhode Island Land-Based Wind Siting Guidelines. And essentially the state does give us guidelines that we could possibly follow, but this is outdated. And to some degree, to put an application before zoning and have them make decisions on whether or not the turbines should be permitted in those areas, they don't have much to work with. And I think we just need a better ordinance. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have turbines, that we shouldn't move forward with green energy and renewable energies, but we just need to have better requirements and better specifications in place, and not just base it on individual applications.
To try and put it in perspective for the council, and I think this may have been even before Angelo and Dave were on the council, there was a town planner, Bob Malovich from Massachusetts, that he and the former town manager got together and they presented and they got through the then council a wind energy ordinance. That's in our zoning code. Several years ago, town manager Presley asked me to do something about green projects. Through my fault, when I got concentrating on the green energy projects, I didn't take into consideration what was already there on these wind energy ordinance. As a result, we have two ordinances. One is all-encompassing and one is strictly these wind turbines. But there are, within the two, some conflicts of interest, which leads to a problem when we've only had one application coming in before planning and then zoning for a wind turbine, that these conflicting programs. So we need to do something with our wind energy system ordinance. In 2012, the state Rhode Island, the Office of Energy Resources, issued a document regarding guidelines for these wind turbines, wind energy systems, and they were very, very general, very, very, throwing out a lot of questions, nothing specific in it. When John asked me to do this work, and one of the things he asked me to do was look into what happened down in North Kingston. In a very brief, so you're aware of that, what happened in North Kingston was in 2006, when they first started getting applications for wind turbines, they passed a very vague wind energy system ordinance. Later on that year, they made it very specific, much more detailed. By 2011, they were quite concerned about the number of applications they were getting. So they put a 6-month, in January 2011, they put a 6-month moratorium on applications. In July, they extended that for 6 months, but they were still concerned about what was going on. They weren't getting any guidance from the state on where to go with these things. So in December of 2011, North Kingston said, no more wind energy systems in the town of North Kingston. They just changed their zoning. You can't have one in North Kingston. And basically, in my research and reading the minutes of the council, what have you, it was because they were looking for some guidance. That guidance comes because in this document that John mentioned, when I started doing my research to answer some of John's questions, and I went to look at that 2012 guidelines, I found that effective January 31st of this year, new guidelines have been issued. These guidelines are much more much more specific, give us a lot more help in where we should go. They don't say do this, but they give us help as to where to go to look. And they break it down that the first thing that you should look at is where in your town or city is a logical place to put these. In order to do that, we're going to need to also look at our comprehensive plan, which is nearing its final stages. They then specify that each of your wind energy ordinances should take into consider several factors. The first one is the public safety, and that pretty much is the setbacks. And the things you have to consider, the setbacks, is what they call the topple or collapse. That's the tower coming over. A blade comes loose, how far will it go? Or an ice throw off the blades. The second area is the community impacts. The noise coming off one of these turbines, the shadow flicker, that's when the sun's going through it. If you're living there, you're going to get this shadow flicker. And the third one is the visual and signal interference. There have been some concerns about radio connections, and we had, when the application came before zoning, one of the issues is a gentleman in the business park that communicates by radio with his trucks, and he was concerned about the effect this tower might have on it. The third is the environmental impact, believe it or not, concerns about birds and bats flying into them, fauna. There's a lot of studying being done on it. One of the things I liked about this particular set of guidelines was that in it they give us places to go to get expert help or to put into our ordinance about fall zones, about flicker, to give us some help. They also give very specific recommendations that we should build into our zoning code, that we have the right to hire an expert at your expense, applicant, to determine whether or not this is a good location or whether you should go somewhere else. So having said all of that, what I feel we're now in a place to move forward, which when I first spoke to John a couple of weeks ago, I felt we had a lot of groundwork to do, but I think that this guidelines that has just been put out will help us tremendously in it. With that background, I feel that as of today, the town of West Warwick has to come up with a new wind energy ordinance. And I'm going to say to the council that I'm not ready tomorrow to go and put one together to submit to you, but I do think we need it. So I'm saying that what I'm asking the council to do, and I've spoken with John about this, is give me some time to do a little bit more studying, because the first thing is that whatever we do, whether you go with a moratorium, whether you go with a ban, or whether you go right to an ordinance, since they all involve our zoning code in one way or another, you can do nothing until another planning board meeting, because state law and our ordinance says anything regarding a zoning ordinance has to go first to planning. And then, like the ordinances tonight, they make a recommendation to you. So I will say to the council, my opinion tonight is, you have four choices. You can instruct me to go forward with an ordinance and come back to you. You can say no more wind energy projects until you come back to us with an ordinance. You can put a moratorium on just applications for wind energies, or you can do nothing until we come up with the ordinance.
Al, how many applications do we have?
As of now, we
Zero.
don't have any.
Yeah.
Any pending, and there's the one in the Superior Court that there's talk about them coming back, but as of now, we don't have any pending.
Yeah, if I could, a couple things first. Alan, Mark, and I sat down over a year ago and said we're going to redo this ordinance, but we were waiting for the completion of the state's guidance document, because there's a lot of technical specificity in there that we just don't have the capability to handle, which is why they did that document. I was on a board with the state about 5 years ago where they were talking about what is needed at the local levels, and this is one of the things that came out of that. Second point I would make is that there's no reason for a moratorium, because they can't build it here anywhere because of the rules that are on the books right now and conflicting. They would get denied every single time. So it doesn't make any sense to go through that extra step, because there's nowhere you could do one today. because the zoning ordinance, because of the conflicts that Al's already pointed out, would prevent the zoning board from making any approvals. So the other thing is really one company that would even consider putting in an application right now, and they built ours.
Maybe they can build Coventry's in West Warwick.
The third thing I would say is that I think it's important that every member of this council go visit our turbines. We have 3 of them. We can set up a tour. You can go up inside them, because I think to speak on this stuff and not know what they're like in person. And I know, Dave, you've been out to one, and Angela, I think you went out.
I didn't go, I went out on my friend's property there. I've been there, but I haven't been
But I think it's
up in it, or, you know, got the whole tour of it, and I liked it.
But and I'll set that up for anybody individually.
When the weather breaks.
We can do it as a group meeting, and also residents as well. If there's anybody in particular that you know has a specific issue with these, because I think the biggest issue with wind turbines is that people don't know what they're talking about, and a lot of the concerns with that are brought up at all these meetings are not factual.
I'll be honest with you. I have a coworker, a very good friend of mine. He lives right on 102, and in his backyard is one of the turbines, and he says he walks back there all the time. I asked him if he experiences any problems since they put them up, and he said absolutely not. He said it's been pretty pleasurable as of right now.
Why would he say any different at 10 grand a month?
No, it's not his property. He don't get nothing.
No, the Capitals.
Yeah, no. This is a coworker of mine, and he and I were talking about it. He gets no money from anybody on this, and I asked him, you know, being that close to them, how do you like it? And he's like, it hasn't affected his lifestyle whatsoever because of the tree lines, and he doesn't.
I have to say one thing that surprised me in the guidelines is that all the studies done regarding real estate values, no effect.
No.
Yeah.
Al, let me ask you this. So if it went through planning and it's approved from planning and it goes in front of zoning, for example, the one that was proposed in the commercial park, why couldn't zoning just give them the variance and it would be built? So
Well,
I don't understand how,
it has
how
to.
we're saying it would get
They
turned
have to
down.
fall into all the criteria.
I didn't say it would be turned. I didn't say it was going to be definitely turned down.
No, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is it could have been approved that night.
No.
Why not?
Because they have to show, the only way you can grant a variance is if it's causing a hardship to the applicant. So if they follow the letter of the law and Al's making
Yeah.
recommendations there, they cannot approve that.
I
And
will.
Al, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're at these meetings.
Yeah.
You know,
Not that they always listen to Al, but in cases like this,
but in case
We
like
always
this, they
listen to you, Al.
that was a 5-0 vote. There's no way they were approving that. And I guarantee if it goes back again, it's going to be 5-0 again. I mean,
I know I voted against it.
all right, I don't guarantee it, but I would suggest that, you know, that
Possible, potential.
you have to look at the ordinances, and that's why we need to fix the ordinances. The other thing is zoning boards and planning boards. Planning board approved a concept plan only. They did not approve the project. They approved the concept. So it goes to master plan, then you have to get your zoning approval. The zoning board, I was at those meetings, in their denial, their biggest reason for denying it, they stated, was that they didn't feel like they were qualified to even be considering it because of all the issues and the scientific aspects of the issues there. And they're right, which is why that document was created by the state.
Just do what we have to
And
do.
which is
Just
why,
keep talking about it. Get it
yeah, I
done.
mean, we have to work out, you know, something, but ultimately, the state should approve these things, because they're
So-
way too complex
so-
for local boards and
so we
commissions.
can go on all night about windows.
Right.
What I would
Just get
suggest
done.
at this point is continue working on the ordinance.
Right.
Obviously, nothing can get approved as of right now.
Right.
Continue working on the ordinance.
That's what I was asking.
And that's
Do
where
I
we
have
go
the
from
authority
there.
to go forward and start drafting an ordinance that basically will get rid of the old wind ordinance and take it out of the green project ordinance, so we'll have a specific wind energy systems ordinance?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. I know we.
Yeah, this way here, if something ever comes along, it's already done.
I agree
so
with that.
You already got it done.
All right, so just continue working on the ordinance. Thank you, Al.
Thanks.
Before we move on, I'd like to move 4 and 5 up, because I know a little man in the back row probably has to get home and get to bed. Chief Barris, I know you want to go home, get to bed, so.
I'll make a motion to move item 4 and 5
I'll second.
up instead of 2.
All right, so we're on summer camp. Lori, if you want to come up, and Jay, I know that you put this on. I know even though Carl's here tonight, normally he's at home watching this.
It's like going to WWE Live. You get to see all the superheroes here in person.
It's very different when you have so different. I can hear everybody. I have a copy of what I've been working on for everyone, just to kind of.
Hey, Carl, how about those Patriots?
They
It's
stay
not
awake to watch the
answering you.
game.
Oh God, he's.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night, gentlemen.
Good night, Al.
Excuse me, Al?
He's got a plane to catch.
All right, so the summer camp is a program that collaboratively the entire town is going to bring forward. It's going to be an affordable camp for the parents of the town and the community and whatnot. I've given you all what I've come up with so far. I've really been working a lot on this. I've reached out to a lot of different people, different towns. Paul Duffy from Westerly has been a huge resource for me. You know, I've planned some trips. I've kind of worked some deals with them to make sure that they're all very affordable and whatnot. I've given you all a calendar of all the fun things that I have planned to do. I've come across, just because I've reached out to all the elected officials and whatnot, and Adam Satchel and I have been talking an awful lot, and the governor is proposing in the budget the possibility for this summer camp program, and it has something to do with the increasing of the cigarette tax, and they're hoping to get $2.5 million that will be distributed to these recreational programs and whatnot. I'm not sure as of yet if it's something that could happen this year, but it is a possibility. So, you know, I'm right there. I do have a meeting with Langevin's office in the coming week or so to see what they can do for me. You know, I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, my theory is what's the worst thing they're going to say to me is, no, I can't help you at this time. So I just keep reaching out. I had a very lengthy conversation with Pat Serper the other day, and you know, she's going to see what they can do on that level to see if there's any grants or whatnot that they could come up with. Sodexo, I've talked to Donna in length, and providing lunch for the kids is something that we may be able to possibly do, depending on my numbers, where they fall, how many Horgan and Darien kids fall into the program. So, I mean, that's something that I'm going to keep going with. This year, I would like to keep it just as a pilot program, just West Warwick children, you know, just not to, I mean, I could be completely wrong in this, but I don't want to get in over my head at this point. So I think just keeping it to the West Warwick community might be a good idea. I'm thinking that the children are 5 as of August 31st, which that follows the school, because then you would be in kindergarten, and then 12 years old as of December.
Previous, 5 years old when they go into the summer camp, or they will be 5 years old by
August 31st, so they would have been in kindergarten this year.
So they've already been in kindergarten.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. So that they're used to being away. Like, I didn't want to go, you know, with the kids that would be going into kindergarten, because then they'd be away from their parents, and that would
That's
be.
why I asked the question.
Yeah, yeah. And then till 12. I've reached out to a local company to see if we can get the T-shirts sponsored for when we do take them on trips. That if we all look at Carl, that's the color shirt that I plan on using. Just because I'm thinking when I go to the beach, if they all have that color shirt on, or you know, the Plus Sox game, I'd like to see a big sleeve of orange to be able to keep track of them a little bit better. The start date I'm looking at is June 26th. End date is August 18th. It's an 8-week camp program. with no camp on July 4th and August 15th. It's 7:30 to 4:30. My plan is to hire 2 head counselors. The rest of the counselors I will not hire until I get numbers to know where we're at. I've looked at the guidelines. They're about a 10-to-1 ratio that I feel comfortable going with. I know 9 to 12, it's a 12-to-1 ratio, but I would like to keep it there. I would like to put a counselor and training program together, which is about 10 to 15 volunteers. They're 14, 15 years old. They don't get paid. They're volunteers strictly. They will go on the trips. They will do that kind of thing. And then for years to come, they would have the first preference after the counselors that were there to come back. The counselors would be 16 as of January 1st. Each staff member will be CPR and first aid certified. I have talked to Paul McAllister. He's agreed to do everyone's class for $30 per person, which normally is $55, so he agreed for that. I do have 17 trips that are outside of the camp that I've planned, that I've gotten really good deals on. The payment options, I've worked up a couple things. I don't feel comfortable with discussing them to the public just as of yet, just because I want to see what kind of, grants and whatnot that I can get. But I mean, they're pretty affordable at this point, and I'm just hoping to, there's going to be some other people that need it to be a little bit more affordable. So my plan is the flyer that's on the front. I would like to put that out, and how it says that more information is to come from the West Warwick Civic Center as of March 1st. I'm hoping to have a little bit more answers as of then. And then I don't really have much else to say. I know this is a new program. I'm absolutely positive that I am not perfect, and I will have a few hiccups. And I'm pretty good at just rolling with it and dealing with it. We'll learn from it. We'll move on from there. I do need a little bit more time to research what I can get for grants and whatnot before we go completely public and be like, this is how much it's going to cost. So,
Well, that would be my main concern on what it would cost, how much money we would make and not lose. We can't afford to take a hit, I know that.
my goal is to have a wash, to make it very affordable for the families this year, and not make any money on it and not cost us any money.
And one of the things that I remember going back to 2006, when it used to be like $20 or $40 for an entire 8-week session, and that included us supplying lunches.
Yeah, but we were eating it.
No, and that was one of the reasons why when we went up to $60 or $70, and I want to say it was Warren Reinhauser at the time, said, that's crazy, nobody's going to come. Well, we actually could not afford the camp anymore because it was just costing us too much money per year. But when the private company came in, he was charging $100 and $125 a week per child, and on average he had 80 to 100 children there per day. So if anybody knows daycare as it stands right now, especially people who only need it for the summer months, understands what daycare truly costs. That was a reasonable amount, especially if you're going on trips and doing whatever, getting lunch, got your kids for 8 hours a day. The town can, like Angela said, we can't afford to take, $70,000, $80,000 a year and just put it towards a program like this, when some people at the time, way back in 2006, were taking that $40 and using it as a daycare and an abusive camp, because we're going to just send our kids there because it's so cheap. And that's just not the way it should be done. It should be a wash, like you said, Laurie. Or if you do make a profit, you make a profit. But if they're, we shouldn't be taking a loss at this.
I don't know,
I put
Jason,
this
this
on,
is
I
your,
put this on the agenda for a reason. I know Lori's, but we've been in contact a few times. I've been in contact with Fred. And she's done a ton of work here. There's no question. And I run a summer camp for 15 years, so I know there will be hiccups. I still have hiccups and like to tweak it every year. The days of the $40 per season are way over. But I also think as a town camp, we're not daycare, it's a day camp, and there is a difference. We do have to come up with a
base number, and that's where I've been at for the last month with, I know we have a number of 120, but where did that number come from is my question, because that number, believe it or not, I've been doing this a long time, that base number that we have is going to affect everything. It's going to affect busing, which you roll out at $400. Relatively busing $55 to $70 an hour. You roll out of here for 6 hours, you're looking at $400. If you can save on busing 5 times, you're looking at $2,000. And we have zero. I mean, right now we have a lot of, Lori's doing a lot of work as far as grants and the possible cigarette tax. But right now, in order to put this together, we have zero. And we have to think about that. And I would personally like to see a letter, call it a survey, whatever you want to call it, to the schools, which we are working with on a regular basis. I'm sure Mrs. Tarasevich would put that out, as to who is interested in the camp from the dates that you have.
But you have to give them a price also.
Well,
That's what they're gonna ask
Well,
for.
I know,
ask for a price.
believe me, I'm fully aware of that. But so right now, all right, to go by this price, and I'm not knocking this. I'm just thinking, all right, I just spoke with a woman the other day, had questions about camp, and because when I ran for council, that's one thing I want to do. I want to bring recreation to West Warwick. We don't have any. Block Island has it, and we don't have any. So I know Lori's been working really hard with this, but if we're charging $760 a child for 8 weeks, which you break it down by the day, by the hour, I understand it's cheap. But when you have to come up with that, and we're all parents here, I spoke with a woman who has 5 kids. All right, so I'm going to take that number, and I'm not saying it's a bad number, but I'm going to just take that number at $760, multiply that by 5. You're going to spend $3,300 to send your child to camp. And I like the trips, that's the fun part of it. But who the hell's going to come up with $3,300
What would the
to send?
YMCA charge?
Well, that's the thing. The YMCA works a little bit differently.
I could tell
They
you
go
right
by
now.
your,
What-
you
no,
go by
no.
your income.
They go by income. They give deals to first child, second child, third child.
But they're
And
funded.
I know, believe me, I've worked for the Y as well. I know that for a fact. And they're working with DHS to do that. We don't have that option. But I still think we need to make it somewhat affordable for the people with multiple kids. I'll be honest with you. To spend $760 to send my child to a recreation day camp, there are other options out there for, if you need it, you're over a barrel. But if you don't need it, then you're going to look at different options to send your kids to a specialty camp. Horseback riding, sports, whatever the child is into. Yeah, believe me, I've been doing this for a long time. That's what happens. So I'm just looking at a different number. And I could be wrong. This could be a 120, could be the exact number. But I think if we went to the schools and said, who would do this for, if you want to go with this price, or what can you afford? I think we need to put it out there, though, and get a true answer. Because
Well, and that's something like, if you're gonna go with this price, Lori, what I would put on the application would be the first 120 children are eligible. So in other words,
So if I don't have the money and I'm number 130 and I come to you,
But that's why
now
I'm
all of a
going
sudden
through all
I
these
have the
grants,
money.
though.
Jake, can I ask
Now,
a question?
hang
Well,
on.
we
Now
don't
all of a
but
sudden,
if she has a cap of one, she said she'd like to start off at 120 for the year to give it a shot. Now, I'm not saying she might not even get 120, but
Right.
let's say she gets 160. We can't wait until June 15th for a ration of people to come in and start filling out this application. So if she puts this application out in March, the deadline should be June 1st or May 15th
end
or
of
something
May.
like that. So she already knows what she has planned for the year.
I understand.
And you
how
can
it
figure
all
out how
works,
many
Dave.
kids and how
I've
much
done it for
employees you
15
need.
years. What I'm just saying is, when you look at brass tacks, you have 3 kids that are eligible. You want to send all 3 kids to camp for $760. I got to come up with $2,200, $2,300. March, April, May, in 4
She can
months.
come up with family pricing, but let me ask you a question. What's fair? I mean, somebody who has 5 kids, dropping all 5 kids off at camp, I can tell you right now, if they dropped off 5 kids at daycare, and I don't care what you say it's not daycare, I'm going to say it is, because that's how the parents are taking it. This is my summer daycare for
All
my
right.
kids.
Are we calling this daycare or daycare?
I'm going to tell you, we can
call
call it day camp. Parents are going to consider it summer daycare for my kid.
And
That's what they're
I
gonna consider.
understand
But
that,
we
Dave.
can call it whatever you want to
I
call
run
it.
a camp for 500 kids. I
I
understand how it
understand that.
works. And I take 30 kids from West Warwick. you know, at $500
And
a
you're
year.
probably, and you're probably
And
still
that
gonna
pays
take
for
kids from
seven-
West Warwick because you're $500.
That pays for 700, and that's a non-resident rate. It's a lot different where I am, I understand that.
What's your non-resident rate?
Non-resident rate is 500. And that's
What's your
where,
resident rate?
last year was 225.
Is it
240,
self-supporting?
sorry.
Is it
Yeah,
self-
they have
It is,
$70,000 to spend.
yeah, I'm not comparing.
That's all I care
I'm
about,
not
because I don't
comparing
think
the
that the
two.
taxpayers should be on the hook
I have a
for
budget
more
to
money.
work with, we don't, it's
But
totally
you put a
different.
budget, you put a budget line in there of so many thousands per year to work off that.
Many thousands,
Yeah,
yes.
there's
And it's,
70,000.
I'm not comparing, it's apples to oranges. What I am saying though is, we have a small window with this. So if we're gonna go with a number, this number affects the busing, affects the staffing. It does affect all that. It affects you booking trips as well. Are we booking for 120 or are we booking for 50? Because I guarantee you, if you book for 120 and you show up to a place with 50 people, they're gonna be looking for a higher rate.
She has in, Lori, I thought I read in your emails, it's the same thing. She actually has in one of these, I don't know if it was the email or this one, even though she gets 120, she's not expecting 120 participation. I mean, let's face it, some kids might not even be coming to camp that day. You know,
Right.
Yeah, I know all
basketball
that.
tournament, a Southwick Zoo.
No, I
you
know
some
all
of the
that.
parents might not say, so
They might not like the water. I know all
75%
that.
of them might show
I'm,
up.
I'm just saying, going forward,
But that's,
I think we need a base number.
Oh, yeah, I
Based
agree,
on the
I agree
people.
with that. We gotta see how many are
Or,
coming.
or we do this and we take the
Can't
120 and you cut it at 120. And then anybody after the 120, so the people that can't afford it right now to pay, then they're gonna be cut off.
yeah, but she's not looking for the whole money up front.
No.
No.
She's
Just
looking,
doing
if
payment
it's
plans, stuff
weekly,
like that.
monthly, it's a payment plan, but, I mean, they have to pay. I mean, they're not
No,
gonna,
of
they're not
course.
gonna wait till the 8th week and say, see you later,
Of
vacation,
course.
we're not gonna get into
They
that.
have to pay before they go.
Of
Right.
course, I just think, I'm not knocking what's been done at all. I've been through this for many years, and I understand the glitches. All I'm saying is, if we can avoid the glitches in the front end, rather than saying, oh, next year we'll do it this way. Because that's gonna happen no matter what, I mean, especially the first year doing it.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know,
it's
you'll
gonna
be
happen,
thinking on
I mean,
day
you're
one.
still doing it 15 years later,
Of
you have
course it
glitches.
does, all the time, of course I do.
So,
But I've
I mean,
also,
I'm reaching out to a lot of other elected officials that have to do with West Warwick, and I'm looking for legislative grants. So far, I've gotten, yes, I'm going to do this for you. I completely believe that you don't say yes to everyone until you actually have check in hand, go to the bank
right,
with it.
right.
So, do I see these coming forward? Yes. I mean, if you look at the calendar fully, on August 1st, Neighbors ER is sponsoring the entire day. That costs me nothing. They're coming with everything. I mean, I'm going to reach out to many more companies and
I'm
ask them
just
to
saying,
sponsor
I think
the days.
to
So
move
I
forward
just,
though, I think to move forward, I think Lori needs an answer from us, whether it's whatever it is.
I would
in order
say,
to
I'm
move
all
forward.
for it. I mean,
I'm
I'm
good with
for
the
it. I
price.
don't want it to cost us any money. You, I
Right.
just had that
Yeah.
conversation with you.
absolutely.
But what I would go by what Jason said and what you thought, send a letter to the schools.
Hmm.
See how much,
I mean, we could put it on a
activity-
Facebook poll.
I
That
just
would
wanna
probably
see
be
what
the
the-
best
see how
I
way
much
just
to do
wanna
it.
see what
activity
the
we get. We
interest
might
is.
have 300 kids,
Right.
hopefully, just so it pays for
Well,
itself.
can't you put a deadline for the higher price, and if by like an earlier deadline, and if you don't have the response, then you lower? I mean,
Well,
Do they
right
have-
now, I personally
I think
do
the
not
price-
think, listen, there are gonna be people that are gonna still go to Coventry because it's $500. But, to be honest,
Yeah, but Coventry's gonna overfill.
but
and then they're gonna
exactly,
have to-
Coventry
we're gonna get
overfills
the
every year, and Jay, you have a cutoff
Overflow.
at a
Of
time.
what?
You have a cutoff period,
We have a cutoff the day before camp.
cutoff day before camp.
The date, yes, we have a date.
So how do you budget, so what happens if you get 40 kids in that last day?
You don't turn away a resident.
Non-resident?
A non-resident I can turn away. Well, you can't
So,
turn, we would never turn away a
Let me
resident.
ask you this.
But I don't wanna
Let me ask
compare
you-
No, all
campuses.
residents should
Hold on
come
one
before.
second, I was just gonna ask you this. You as the Coventry
I run the program, Jim.
run the program for the summer camp.
Yeah.
Now, Larry's running a West Warwick summer camp. Should you allow West Warwick going to Coventry?
That's not my call.
That's not his call.
That's not my call.
He works for him,
That's
he
a
can't
council
stop it.
call. That's
Well,
a council call.
are you running the
And
program?
I don't wanna compare, I think we're comparing apples to oranges, we can't do that.
Well, I'm just,
I don't.
it's actually kind of conflicting because those people should be coming to West Warwick.
I agree.
And they're only gonna go to you because you're cheaper.
It's choice.
That's a
That's their
choice.
choice, though.
They have a
That's
choice
not-
to go
it's not
anywhere they
anything.
want. They can go to Providence, they can go
Right.
to the moon.
They can go to the
Doesn't
Y
matter.
for free if the state pays.
Yeah, that's got nothing to do with that.
That has nothing to do with
Has
what
nothing to
he's
do with
doing there, who
anything.
cares? It's the
All I'm
people's
saying
choice.
is to move forward, I think we need to make a decision based on, we're either gonna cap it, whether it's 50, 100, 150, so Lori can move forward. Or we're gonna put something out to the schools to see what their interest is. And it could be based on an approximate price, it doesn't have to be a guarantee. The reason I'm saying that
I
as
think
well
that,
is
you know, I'm
we
just
have
gonna interrupt you
8
for 1 second.
we-
I think
hang
as
on,
soon
hang
as
on,
we
hang on. One
do
second,
that-
one second. We have 8 grades. We're going K to 8, or K to 7, K to 6?
K to 12 is,
12 could be 7th.
yeah, could be 7.
All right, so, all right, we're gonna, I'm just thinking by grade now. We have 8 ages, 5 to 12. The interest could be heavy on the grades K, 1, and 2. It could be very low on 6 and 7. That makes a difference how you move forward with this.
Yeah, I can
With
tell you,
calendars.
the previous camp that was up there, the 12-year-olds, there was a few 13s, couple about 10 to 15 12s, and the 10 and under were very heavy.
But it's a difference if you're putting a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old. You can't put them with a 10-year-old.
No, I understand.
So it's
What
gonna
they
be-
did is they broke that up by counselors.
Right.
Because my
But are
son
they all
wasn't.
going on the same trips, Lori? I know
Yes,
you-
I have made
Okay.
sure that the trips were age appropriate for everyone.
Okay.
Like, I don't have Chuck E. Cheese planned at all.
Why not? I'm just saying, the more information that we can get ahead of time, it will help her with the planning, and it will prevent a lot of problems. That's all. You know, especially, you know, that's just the dynamics of.
I'll tell you what, I'd roll with this and see what interest you
I mean,
get.
again, I don't want to bring it out completely to the public.
I would put an
until-
earlier date though. I wouldn't do the day before.
I have, and here I have June 15th as my day that,
When's the day camp starts? I would do
June
it sooner than that.
26th.
That's only like the week before, right?
I mean, those are in some of the options. I mean, I have
Yeah.
3 options on here for
Yeah.
different ways to pay.
If
So,
you got 15 years locked in, and you know roughly what you're going. I mean, Jay, numbers to numbers, year to year. How bad does it change for you? Is it roughly the same numbers every year?
Yeah, it's within like 40 or 50.
So doing it,
But it's
15 years in advance.
but it's different though. I mean, I have a budget. There is no
Right,
budget.
we don't have a budget.
I can plan based on my budget, my staff budget, my costs, and everything. We don't have anything here. So when we have to save money, all I'm saying is, if we're saving 2,000 here and 2,000 there, that's $4,000. That's a big difference for us.
What do you mean by budget, as far as?
Yeah, because she has a budget. The budget
Okay,
is,
budget?
the budget is based upon her projected enrollment of
So
120
she got
and the
120
amount
kids
she's charging.
at 100, I'm just throwing out prices.
So that's her budget.
120 kids at $100
So we're gonna cap
a
it
week.
at 120? Is that what we're saying? Am I misunderstanding this? That's all.
If you don't want to cap, that's up to Lori. I mean,
This-
she's
I
gonna
don't
run the
care either
program.
way.
I don't think it's a bad idea to cap it the first year, just
The
so,
I
first
don't
year.
either.
just so
So
you
if
get
we cap
your,
it at
You can
120,
set
then
your
you can-
budget.
you get
know
your
what
feet
you're gonna
underneath
spend.
you, you can
Then
set
that's
your
your
budget. I
Which
think it
she
makes
has
sense.
right here,
All right, so
a basic budget.
So if we get 80, is that going to affect, how is that going to affect the budget? It's going to affect the revenue stream.
It will, but she'll also be able to
but I'm not hiring
cut down
counselors.
buses, she'll be able to adjust things based upon that number.
You said just West Warwick residents. Would you allow non-West Warwick residents saying we don't reach that number, and then we go, all right, now we have an open spot, now we'll open up to other towns, so that way we reach that number?
Yeah, but I'm going to be
I'd
honest
say
with you.
West
I'm
Warwick
sure you,
residents priority.
I'm sure you will, but I'm saying that'll be secondary. If we get to a certain
Yeah.
date,
Right.
then we go, all right, now, like on
I
the
don't-
15th, if we have openings, then you
For,
can,
for instance, Steve Lawton runs a basketball league. West Warwick basketball, he runs a summer league. Kids from all over the state want to come to this because it's such a great time. He sends out the registrations very early. West Warwick kids get priority.
yeah, of course.
Then he backfills with other
Exactly. I think we should do that in case,
with other kids.
I mean, I think we're gonna reach that number anyway in West Warwick, but in the case that we don't,
I mean, I have a great relationship with all the organized sports of the town. To send out your survey, whatnot, probably sending it out through all of them would probably not be a bad idea. I mean, they would reach it. I can say reaching 120 is absolutely realistic, just from, I mean, just his friends alone right there. Like, I mean, there's 30, 40 kids that want to go to camp with Carl. Like, you know,
Town employees.
you know, I mean,
which, yeah, unfortunately, he lives in Ward 3, so
I'm gonna call him Camp Carl.
Does he get a commission? What's going
Yeah.
on?
besides the running,
So
it's
this
I
might
will
be-
tell.
can I
I
ask
will
a
say
silly
that
question?
Yeah.
I must have misunderstood when we met. So the child is there for the entire time. So they're committing to camp for the season.
Right.
If we didn't make the 120, could that be broken up between
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
two
I mean,
children,
there's
three
other-
children? Could they do 1 week? Could they
Yeah,
do 2 weeks?
the
Could they
paid
do half
before the
month?
last, you'll see that I have like other options, like option B gives you 4 days, 3
Okay, I
days,
just want to make
2
sure that
days,
because
you
we
know.
talked about that.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe
Absolutely.
this was different in that
Yeah,
you had
some-
to go for the entire
No,
commitment.
some families, like the grandmother wants to take them for 1 day or 2 day, but no way they want them for the whole week.
Right.
You know, it's
Like
one of
I would
those things.
consider my child
It's not
maybe
only
a
that,
week
just-
or two, but
just
not
work
the whole.
schedules. Like, I used to be Tuesday through Saturday, so
Yeah.
I had Mondays off.
Right.
Why would I send my kid to camp when they can spend a day with me?
I mean, I don't see a problem of making 120.
Maybe
I don't see that at all, like, as an
Seems
issue.
like an easy number.
It's a very easy issue. I mean, I run the girls softball league in the
Pretty
town.
good.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that's
not-
a huge benefit there.
If you wanna
Again, this
cap
is
it,
the
cap it.
first year.
I don't agree with capping it. to be
My,
honest with you.
my opinion right now, this is the first year.
Yeah.
And as Laurie said, she doesn't want to get in over her head on a
Right.
first year basis. And if she sees that it's a huge success, I think, you know, again, we've been out of it since 2006, 2008. We haven't done this in 8, 10 years. So, again, I commend her for the hard work that she's done on this calendar and the programs that she's already got scheduled. I think we should move forward with it at where it is. And Laurie, if she sees that all of a sudden she's got 60 more kids at 180, she could say, well, you know what, I need one more counselor, but I got the 60 kids to prove it. I got the budget, I can do it. But I throw it out there. Don't cap it, but throw it out there. But then if you start seeing an overwhelming response, then we gotta cap
And I
it.
say that it's both.
But I think too.
I mean, we're gonna. I'll tell you right now. Do we have sprinkler systems up there yet?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
So we won't need a fire detail, because if we had that many people in there, we would need a fire detail.
I was just thinking, you know, in terms of the cap, you have to manage it,
Mhm.
and this is your first time managing it,
Yeah.
so you don't want to go overboard.
That's exactly what it is.
You know,
I
that's
mean,
a lot
every
of kids. You know, as a teacher, I manage 25 at a time,
yeah.
and I've done summer camps as a counselor when I was younger. Kids are tough.
Yes, absolutely.
No.
So you know, you might want a starting point and see how it goes,
Right.
and then next year go from there.
Right, and every town that I've reached out to, and I've reached out to quite a few, obviously you all know I like to talk, but I've reached out to quite a few towns, and they have a staff. I mean, how many people do you have?
I have 30.
You have a staff of 30 people that plan the camp, right? Is that what you're saying? What do you have a staff of
I have a
planning?
staff of one that plans the camp. That's right.
You were planning it all by yourself?
I plan everything.
Everything. You do the money, everything, but then you're the only one besides me then, because
That's not
everyone else has
planning.
like,
No, I do the planning
okay,
for a living, based upon the budget that I have. I
Okay.
plan all the trips, I plan all 3 calendars, call all the places, get confirmation, all that's done.
Do you have a
Mhm.
finance person?
Well, right now, we just went to an online system, which takes care of everything. Before, we did it by cash in hand.
right.
So, but you're dealing with on a regular basis, and that's another thing you're gonna have to talk about. It wasn't me that was taking, I never touched the money. But you're dealing with ones and fives and $20,000 of ones and fives with the amount of people we had per week, which is a lot. I don't know how you're gonna collect with this. I could say that the less cash you collect at one
Should be
time,
check or money on it.
the better. But
Yeah,
Or credit card, we have the
well,
option.
now here's the thing, you're dealing with
2% though.
now you're dealing with a check to go on trips. Okay, by the time you've done everything, you go on your first trip. Those checks are rubber. Not all of them, but there's going to be some, and then you're chasing. So that puts a lot of burden. All the finance piece, I think, needs to be worked out because that's going to put a lot of burden on the finance department, a ton. And if that's the way that you want to go, then that's fine. But that's going to be 8 weeks worth of. It's going to be 8 weeks worth of money collection, and how you're going to collect it, and who's going to collect it. Money has to make sure people have paid, people are showing up, not paid to go on the trips. Laurie needs to know that day one, what do you do with those kids? All this stuff has to be worked out, and that's what I'm saying, you know, go ahead and do what you want. But I'm telling you, there's gonna be issue after issue after issue. The planning of the trips is easy, Mark. There's nobody around. You just plan the trips, you can plug them in, you can base that on whatever number. But when you start talking about the numbers and the money, and that's where I'm looking at that base, it could be a financial nightmare for the entire summer.
all the more reason to
So,
limit the number. So it's not, because every time you go up another 50, 60, 100 kids, you're
Deal with 50 or 60
multiplying
kids.
all those issues.
And all the
So
issues that come with
for
it.
the first year, while we get our feet under us, and she is going to have a secretary up there that'll be handling that as well, and then assistants from finance. So I think, we can talk about, the best way to do it. We've been looking at different systems, online systems to assist as well, so we can look at that. I agree, to limit the money, to limit the exchange the day of would make life a lot easier for everybody, but.
And I personally have faith in Lori and what I've seen her do as far as, I'll give you a perfect example. West Warwick, Cal Ripken's paying all this money for online registrations. She gets a sponsor through Dixon, it's free registrations for girls softball. West Warwick baseball's like, what are we paying all this money for? If you're getting it for free, why don't we jump on that?
Well, I was just
The only person I ever heard in town history as a head saying, I use coupons to purchase certain things through the town. And it's like, coupons, I'm like, well, I've never heard anybody say they use
I'm
coupons.
not knocking all the work. I'm not knocking all the work.
No,
I want
when
to
it's-
make that clear.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
I
saying,
think
I have
Lori
faith in her
has done an excellent
that
job
she's
with
gonna
the work that
handle
she's
this well.
done. But all I'm thinking is, I know what to expect, and I know
No,
the issues that we go through, and I'd like to avoid those issues, because we're still starting with zero. We don't have money to fall back on. Personally, I have $60,000 to fall back on my staff. That's a lot of money. And a lot of other established recreation departments have that same thing.
But
She
you
doesn't
guys
have
had to
that
start
luxury.
somewhere along the lines.
But
You guys started,
I understand,
and
but
every
everybody
program
has that
does.
luxury. She doesn't have the luxury.
Well,
And that's not
Understood,
her
but
fault.
every program
So,
has
and
to
she's
start
still-
somewhere.
I
It's like we
understand.
did with the ice
I
time and everything
understand
else. We
that.
started with zero. We had to. We had no choice. But now it's more than making money. You have to kind of get it up and running.
Don't you think that we should have some idea?
Well, that's what
how
she's
many
done.
kids are
Yeah.
gonna
No.
go?
Oh, absolutely.
I
That's
mean,
why we're talking
that's
about
all-
capping
that's
it. Yeah.
all what I'm saying.
No,
Give me some
I agree
kind
with
of
that
idea
completely. Yeah.
What it's gonna cost
Yep.
us, because if it's gonna cost us a ton of money, I'm not for it.
Right. No. Absolutely. And that's why we had to put up the budget.
That's
and-
why this could mean 50 kids. This could mean 220 kids.
No,
I
we're
don't
saying
know.
we're saying
we're going to
Unless
stop.
we're not
cap
going to
it.
do that.
We're
I
capping
think
it
it's
to
important
I
the
think
first
the
year to
letters
cap
should go out
it.
to the schools, like Jay said, and Laurie agrees, and see how much action we get on it, and see how many, instead of guessing, well, maybe 100, it might be 300, like they said. It might be 50. So you got to know how many kids are coming, and then
But
you
you'll
got to
know
figure so many
faster if you
percentage.
put a deadline on it in a
Yeah.
headline.
Well, of course you do. You
I
put
mean,
that in a letter.
the reality
send it
is
out
it's
to the
kind of like
schools.
it's kind of like polls. You can send these out to every parent, and in reality, until they get the thing to say fill this out, you're not going to know. You'll get
Well,
some
you're gonna get some kind of idea.
Every
yeah.
league in town starts off normally zero.
Right.
Right.
And then at the end, boom, 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 boom.
Pay as you go, and then what happens is, normally, football's the best example. You're gonna lose money because 5 kids that show up and get a uniform don't return the uniform. All right, so you lose it there. But you don't, you're projecting going forward based upon prior years, like soccer, for example. So when she says, I'm gonna cap it at 120, and I get 80 responses by the end of March, well, 80 is a pretty good number. Now you're working on the 120.
Right.
Then you're gonna know. Then the more money comes in earlier, that's gonna be your budget moving
Right.
forward. And if somebody doesn't pay, well, sometimes.
And
you
that's
get-
why I did put the 3 different payment options on there. Everybody's financial situation is completely different, so it does give the parents the opportunity to pay in different ways. I would really like to wait till March 1st. I would like to see where I'm going with, the higher ups in the government, see what kind of grants that they can, what kind of money that they have moving forward, what other companies will sponsor days and whatnot. I don't see a problem with putting out there that we will be having a summer camp, because after February vacation, that's what most parents are doing. They're thinking, oh my God, the spring is coming, I need somewhere for my children to go for the summer. I think it's a good idea just to put it out there. Will my phone ring off the hook? Absolutely, I'm sure it will. But
Your document can be very simple and say
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're anticipating starting a summer camp as of June what?
26th.
Right.
The quicker the response time and the quicker you pay, you're gonna know.
Right.
the people are gonna, they'll get
I
that.
was, I would like to work in some sort of discount for the people that do pay, but I
Oh,
just
sure.
would like to wait till I see what kind of grants that I can
Right.
grant money.
I mean, if you say you're gonna cap it at 120, I think you're gonna have people that are gonna sign up very quickly
Right.
to make sure that they don't get locked out.
Right.
And then you could always, you could always say, if you get the 120 early, then you could always say like,
We're gonna
all
open
right,
it up.
we're gonna open up 40
We'll
more,
go to
50
180,
more.
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, if you got 120 in a month, and all of a sudden you got 2
Because
months before the camp.
your
Right,
reliance
of course.
on what you may get
No,
as
we
far
might.
as grants,
Mhm.
you may not get them until December.
Right,
All right, so zero those out right now,
okay,
because once it gets approved, there's a process.
Yeah.
You may not get it until after the season.
right.
And now you got seed money for next year.
I will say that I have seen all the grants that are out there, and as soon as I finish this part of it, I will be applying for 2008.
You're gonna have better luck with corporate
Yeah.
sponsors, because they'll respond more quickly.
Right.
Right. Right, I mean,
Alright.
Neighbors ER was completely
move,
right on board.
All right, we'll just go with it.
Right?
I think Carl's got some questions. Carl?
When are you gonna buy me a car?
And what am I getting for my birthday?
What am I getting for my birthday?
All right, yeah, you gotta answer that.
Oh, I have to
He's
answer
on the
that.
road. He's on the road, Carl. Press her.
Car, 16, and then for your birthday,
If you're lucky,
that little
16.
thing that you want, that little guy, that robot guy.
A new car.
Right.
Oh, a new car. All right. We'll let it sit in the driveway.
What
with
kind
you.
of
You know what? You know what I heard,
Let's move
Kyle.
on to Easter egg hunt.
What kind
Hey,
of car do
Kyle.
you want?
Hey, Kyle, whoever gave you permission to sit in that seat, I think he should give you a gift certificate out of Toys R Us.
Ah, yeah.
I would, that's a ritual.
Concession stand bucks, right?
Concession stand dollars, yes. Carl is concession stand Carl.
All right, let's move on to Easter egg hunt.
All right.
Boy, you did a lot. You did a lot of work on this, though. It does look good, really.
Thanks, Laurie.
Easter egg hunt.
The Easter hunt.
Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg.
Has nothing to do with Laura.
No.
All right, go ahead.
For the Easter egg hunt, one of the things that we haven't had here in a long time, and going back probably 10 years since Warren was here,
That
is
was
an egg
fun.
hunt.
Warren had it. We had a big turnout. That's what I
Well,
discussed with you.
This is what, Angela and I have kind of worked on this and want to put this together as a free community event to the townspeople of West Warwick. I'm not just talking an egg hunt. I'm looking at other activities, getting nonprofit organizations involved. And I spoke with Lori about this very briefly because I think at that point, excuse me, which would be April 15th, I already booked the complex, where she could have a table set up and she could actually promote and market the summer camp instead of being directly involved with this, which would be a good thing because she's the face of it. And when people see, I know when I send my kids somewhere, I want to know, I want to make that direct contact, and I can say, all right, this is who we want to sign up for summer camp, or summer camp's coming. This is the person in charge. And I think that goes an extremely long way. And then next year, possibly, we'll maybe do things different. We'll tweak it and get her involved a little bit differently once the camp is established. But I'm looking at contacting community groups. I just haven't done it yet. We still have some time. I can tell you the Easter Bunny will be there. I've spoken to the Easter Bunny. They're going to be there. He's going to be there.
Little known fact, I was the mall Easter Bunny for 3 years back in the early 2000s.
No, it's the real Easter Bunny.
It's the
It's
real.
the real one, not a fake
Not
one.
some guy with a beard in it.
Matter of fact,
God.
the Easter Bunny's got fur.
We
don't
all
have any hair.
we're also I've contacted some local businesses for sponsors. The event's
Pass as an Easter egg.
it's going to happen, and I'm also looking at a couple other people to come in as far as at no cost. I think this should be a free event. I'm looking to create a staple event here for the town.
We're not gonna have a problem getting it. We got a lot of sponsors.
Yeah, we have probably
A lot
more.
of businesses in Ward 1.
Probably more
Jason's
than we're
got
going
some
to need.
too.
But, Angela, if there's anything you want to add to this? Again, I want to make this a staple
No,
event.
it's just, we're just letting you know, we want to do it. When I was going door to door, and Jason himself, they said, that they talked about the things they did up there. Warren, whether they liked them or not, Warren did a lot for the kids. And he had the Easter egg hunt, and I was there myself, and Dave, I don't remember if you came, but it was loaded. The kids had a ball.
Yeah, on the soccer field.
We had it all in the front. Then it came to the front to the complex and in the fields. And it was just
inside.
the kids and the parents. We had coffee, little snacks that they donated. Dunkin' Donuts donated the coffee and donuts, and it was just a good time. And I think it's gonna be a win-win.
15.
Inside, you're saying?
I want to do it inside, and for this reason.
Where do you hide
only.
'em?
I don't want to just make it a traditional egg hunt.
They don't hide them.
I'm
Well, I
looking.
know in the grass they do that, but do you do that
No,
on the
they
floor?
don't get hit. They never hit.
They just kind of.
What I want to do is I want to bring the community groups involved, and I don't want to take a chance on the weather, because if I'm looking.
But if it is, like we discussed, if it is a nice day, we could bring it out from the inside to outside.
We'll have
I
to
mean,
choose.
we're right there.
Right, we'll just have to plan accordingly.
We'll get more kids to
But
help
this way
us.
we can also advertise, all right, we have a new splash pad
Yeah.
coming in. We have a new playground coming in right there in Ward 3. The new track, sorry, Ward 1, the new track.
Don't be giving up my stuff
we
in
have-
Ward 1.
We have the new track.
I'll see it from my ward. I can look
Just
across the
look
street.
over.
And we also have to market the ice rink, you know, and I'll be talking with Lori to market this event, you know, as marketing director for the town, so.
That thing's booked all the time.
So my goal is 400 people. So it might be out of reach, but I think we're gonna get more than 50 if we get it out there, so. And definitely get it out through Jay and Facebook. That's just not until the event is a little more secure, so.
All right,
All right, let's go back to 2.
speed limit signs in residential areas, Angela.
Okay. Matter of fact, one of my constituents is here today. Welcome, Danny. In neighborhoods, Brookfield, Platt, Hilltop, Crestwood, all residential areas, the speed limits are 25. We can't get them down lower because it was an ordinance. I spoke to the chief. 25 miles an hour in a residential area in a Platt is like doing 100 miles an hour on 95. Some roads go a tenth of a mile. It's just ridiculous. I want to change the ordinance. I want to bring it to this council, and I know everyone in this room, on this council, has the same problem in their wards. 25 miles an hour is excessive speed in a residential area. We slowed them down on Crossland Road. Probably every street has a stop sign. Will they blow through it? Of course they do. Will it slow them down? Probably not. But at least we have a bite in it where 15, the first thing that they say, I'm only doing 25. Yeah, 25, it's like you're doing 50. He almost got hit. I got some kids that play in a plot. Let's face it, they're not used to traffic. And then you get some idiot that decides to do 25, 30 miles an hour, which he's not going to get a ticket because he's only 5 miles over the speed limit. So that 25 is actually 30. So I would bring this, I want to bring this to you guys to get support to change this ordinance to where we figure if David, you have a place on Phoenix Avenue where you think 15, I don't want to change the ordinance again. I want it in place where we can change the sign because of a safety hazard. Kids playing, whatever. So whatever, I don't know, the solicitor can tell me what's involved in changing this. The chief is all for it in a residential area in certain things, but he has no teeth to enforce this. We have no teeth to put up a 15-mile-an-hour sign. It has to be 25. So what can we do, Tim?
Change the ordinance.
Well, right now, Rhode Island General Law 3114-2, subsection A, subsection 1, 25 miles per hour in any business or residence district.
State law.
State law.
So what do we do to change that?
You gotta get the state, you gotta get either enabling legislation for the town of West Warwick, or that section has to be amended through a legislation proposed in the General Assembly. So you got a state law.
So we have to send them a letter requesting that they change it.
Yep. Or the alternative, because of, what would be the planning term? Density? Because West Warwick's a little different than, say, Exeter.
Yeah.
That you want enabling legislation to allow the town of West Warwick to impose a reduction in speed for residential.
Do I have the council support to send that letter to
I don't have a problem.
at least get it,
Yeah.
get it
Yes.
rolling? Where we're doing something this way here. If we ever have that problem again, boom, we can do whatever we want.
So you want basically two parts of the letter. One, legislation, or two, enabling, allowing West Warwick to do it.
Right.
In my neighborhood, in the Nottingham
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
There's a lot of winding roads.
There you go there too.
And we're paying more attention to it right now because I have two daughters who have permits. And if you're going 25 miles per hour through those winding roads, you are flying.
Yes.
You're moving quick through there.
I got,
Same
I got,
thing
I
with
got the same,
Hilltop.
I got the issue on Knight Street.
Yeah.
They do it as a cut
cut
through,
through.
so they don't have to hit the red light over behind Louise's Liquors. They zip right through there.
My street, Robinson Way, is the big cut through for Pulaski. People fly. People
Yeah,
probably
I
go like
was just-
50 down that road.
I'll be honest, I'd like to
It's
even
crazy.
take a test of the speed bump and put it on the speed bump and put it on Knight Street, because that's just a nightmare over there.
Yeah, it's a nightmare all over the place, so I think that we get the ball rolling and we go from there. Danny, you wanna add anything to it? Get up and identify yourself, please.
Dan Pacheco, 10 Carrion Drive, Hilltop Estates. Yeah, I think one of the most important pieces too is a lot of these neighborhoods don't have sidewalks. I know in my neighborhood we don't have sidewalks. I was checking my mail the other day and someone's coming down the road, somebody's coming the other way. They're probably not speeding, going 25, pulls to the side to avoid them, cleared my backpack right off my back when I go home from work. Sent it about 20 yards down the road. He circled around, came back to me, see if I was okay, appreciate it. He wasn't speeding, technically he wasn't doing anything wrong, you know, but it's a little excessive, and there's nowhere for the kids or anybody to walk. There's a lot of people in that neighborhood walk their dogs, the kids that play. There's a guy that drives a golf cart around with his kids in it to take them to their friend's house because he doesn't feel safe for them walking. So you see the golf cart in the summer, passing by 3-4 times a day. And I think we need to do something about that.
You know most of the culprits are gonna be your neighbors, right?
Absolutely, but you know we're part of a forum for our neighborhood, and I've got a lot of support from my neighbors to come here tonight and ask you guys for your support in getting this changed. I think it's important. You know,
I saw that forum last week. It's a pretty interesting forum.
Yeah.
A resident down there, a friend of mine, showed me that forum.
The golf cart forum?
No, it's the neighborhood watch forum. It's
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
the
it's
cars
all
got
over.
broken into on.
Yeah, it's all around. I mean, even
So they're
even
able to
Cranston's
tell each
picking it up, you know. It's good to let the neighbors know, and it's good to let the councilman know, because now I can let the chief put extra patrols. It gives us that tool. If we don't know, and I live right there too, my car's been rummaged through, and you know, you get out of the habit, I used to leave my keys in the car, everything in the cars.
Yep.
Now, you know, it's a different time.
And with more and more kids moving in, especially into our neighborhood right across the street from the elementary school.
Oh, you have a lot of
Who
kids.
would draw up that letter?
What's that?
The letter to this legislation.
I'm gonna draw it up, it's got two parts to it. I'm gonna send it to every member of the General Assembly, basically asking for an amendment to the statute, or in the alternative, allowing West Warwick to have enabling legislation because of density or any other planning terms and conditions we can use, Fred, to reduce it from 25 to 15, and then hopefully it gets to 20. So
Yeah.
I almost wrapped around my foot.
then I'll copy it to the council and the manager.
All right. Thank you.
guys.
Thanks for hanging around, Danny.
All right, and I apologize. I know there's one lady in the crowd who's been waiting here all night for this, and I just realized it once I read it. Community response management, sponsored by Councilman Messier.
Julie, you can come up. I've been here for like 3 hours. Watch our photo session.
It's always good to kind of understand what's going on. So,
Are you driving back to Connecticut tonight?
yeah.
Oh, my
Julie is
God.
here from C-Click Fix. It's going to be potentially our new community response management app on our phone, which I think is going to be really awesome. There's 2 in Rhode Island right now, two town cities that do it. Cumberland and Newport are the ones that do it. So essentially, there's a pothole. You can take a picture of it on your phone. You go on this app, you take a picture of it, it will get sent to Fred, it would get sent to the councilman in that area, and it would get sent to the DPW, for example, if it's a pothole. I've just used pothole as an example. Freddie's like, oh no. But it can be used for many things. For me, I think what's going to be one of the ways it's going to benefit us is the bike path. I know we talked about potential cameras on the bike path. I think this is going to be a great tool for the bike path if there's, let's say somebody finds some drug needles on the bike path, which I know happens, graffiti. You can take a picture, it'll go right through.
Giving away your
And another awesome part about it is it's public. Everybody can see it. So if you complain about a pothole and it's been there for 3 weeks or something, it'll be like, hey, Freddie, why haven't you fixed this? It's been 3 weeks.
So, let me ask you a question. I can actually, excuse me. You said it's public. So, you know, Solicitor Williamson just brought up a good point. If you're sitting somewhere having a beer at a friend's house and somebody took a picture of you and put it on there and said, Councilman Badul is having 3
Oh.
beers today.
Well, it'd be all right if they bought me one.
But,
No, this is
but again,
serious,
it's
because
dead serious. Now,
Absolutely.
I don't know if he had 1 beer, 12 beers, 15 beers, maybe 22, but
I don't drive though.
let me ask the
I don't
question.
drive,
no,
I'm
what,
sober.
again,
What,
somebody,
if any, litigation has come up because people or events have been taken out of context, someone's taken a photograph of it, put it on whatever,
should be
wherever it goes?
Social
Has there been any type of litigation because there's been a violation of privacy or anything close to that?
None that we know of, and that's in over 3 million issues submitted.
But the question I have is, how
Yeah.
long has this been around?
10 years
Right,
this
10
year,
years.
actually.
Right, and there's been nothing regarding any violation of privacy?
No, we
You
are.
haven't been in West Warwick.
No, I'm gonna tell you right now, what I'm thinking of is when somebody says, I know that there are drug deals going on in a particular house.
Hold on.
Next thing you know, someone's taking a picture of 3 people that, oh my God, it looks like it's a drug deal. You put it on this, now everybody in the world knows that's a drug deal going on. 3 people come in and say, my door was jammed, I had to get keys through the window. But you put it out there like I'm a drug dealer. Here's all the photographs, here's the caption, now I wanna get compensated for what you did to me. What do we do as a town? And are we gonna have to go through the interlocal trust to make sure we have a rider? Because I can foresee a lot of problems.
So we can pull things that
Stop
are
yawning, Kendra.
like that down. So if you imagine some instances that we have run into are there's an abandoned vehicle somewhere and the citizen has posted the license plate number. So even stuff like that, we don't want that out there because it's personal information. It identifies a citizen. That stuff we can pull down. It's really the stuff.
But when you say pull down, it's after it's already been up. You don't have a filter beforehand.
Right.
We do.
You do. Right.
Photos are tough. So if in your example, if it's a photo of a few people, we can modify for words. So if there's a word drug, that would get pulled down first. Or we even modify for town manager, mayor, taxes, things that are probably
I'm more concerned with a citizen's right to conduct themselves as they normally would. Someone gets the wrong idea, it's taken out of context, it gets posted, and it has to get posted to be pulled down. So if there's no filter beforehand, it's gonna be up. And the question is, if there's any liability imposed because of that violation of privacy, who's gonna be liable? Us or the app company?
That's an interesting scenario. I have to say, I don't know, just because we haven't run into it in the past.
now, is there a way, let me ask you this, if there's a way for me to report a problem, I'm fine with the council seeing it, the town manager seeing it, and the department head seeing it. Why would the rest of the public need to see that problem? So in other words, if there's a pothole on J Street, and he put that in there, pothole on such and such a street, why me as a citizen see that?
Should just go to the council
You
member.
should just go to, is there a way to
So the next person that comes up on the same pothole goes, oh wait, it's already been submitted.
Well, how about
I'd rather
this?
get an extra call on
Can
it.
it go
and
to the
answer them.
manager, and then the manager would then disseminate it to the general public?
How's he gonna do that?
Well, there's also a way.
gonna hire a
There's
guy.
also a way where you can
That's
do
what
it. You
I'm
can do it
saying.
anonymous. You can do it anonymously too. So, for example, you brought up the drug house. A lot of times, if I had a neighbor that was, you wouldn't want to put yourself in the position
But
where
again, anonymous is even worse because I can sit there and post whatever I want.
No, there is. I'll let you address it.
Yeah, so anonymous posting, if in that case, it allows a citizen to say, hey, I see something and I know I should let someone know, but perhaps I don't want to say, hey, I'm Julia and I noticed that something's going on in that house. You can still chat back and forth with this citizen through SeeClickFix. You will not see their email address or their username, so they are truly protected. It's truly anonymous, but through the system, you can still have that closed feedback loop.
But again,
Yeah, you get
as
some,
me
you
as
know,
anonymous,
David
I could be
Gosling,
a
David
jerk
Gosling's
one night and
stealing
just
drugs
start taking
out
pictures.
of town hall.
Correct.
We
Anonymous.
can
And
block people. We can block people either by if we know who they are, or you can block their IP address if it's
Yeah, but
we've
it's
seen
already too late. It's out there.
See, I'm all for this.
Me too.
I am all for this. I
But it's gonna
love
be
the
it's gonna be
idea.
abused.
I just don't think that
Could you tell some of the
Bert
cities
should
that it's
see
in?
every little issue going on in town. Or, you know, John shouldn't be seeing every issue that's going on in town. That I think that the department heads, you know, if you said like 3 people send in the same pothole, well, that's up to like Freddie and Dave to figure out, hey, we got 3 complaints on this already.
No, but it's gonna come to us because it's gonna be in our ward.
I understand that,
If
but
Ward
I
1's
don't-
got a pothole on River Street, it's got many. But anyway, I'm gonna answer the constituent next because another one's gonna complain to me. I'm gonna say it's already taken care of. I was already, notified, I took care of that. So I don't mind answering a couple of emails, because you're not gonna get 30 people that's gonna complain about one pothole. You're gonna get 1 or 2, and probably the one that went into it and is all mad because they blew out a tire or something.
How many states do you operate in right now?
Oh gosh, we have 300 partners, and there are very few states that we don't have at
When you
least
say
one
300
partner.
partners, you talking about 300 clients?
Yes.
Okay. Now, a lot of those are cities and towns.
Yes.
All right.
90%.
Oh, no, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to, but is it in all 48 states?
Um,
I'm figuring we're gonna exclude Hawaii and Alaska right now.
Yeah, we don't have any in Alaska yet. We do have one in Hawaii.
Right. Now, do you have competitors?
We do.
How many?
It's tough because there's no one who does exactly what we do. There are folks who do websites and then also
Well,
a citizen component.
So we went out to bid for this, if you'll recall, when I first presented this to the council. We received 4 responses. One of them was more or less unresponsive. They went beyond what we were asking for. The other 3, C-Click Fix was one of them. Councilman Giroux and I at the time did the initial review. We're leaning towards C-Click Fix. The election happened. Everything was put on hold for a little bit. Once the new council members were sworn in, I asked Jay to take a look at them. And he reviewed the proposals as well, and he liked, and then he had an opportunity to meet with C-Click Fix at the League of Cities and Towns convention. So, which is why I put it on the agenda here. So we're ready to move forward, but this has gone through the full bid process, and so there are several that claim to do citizen request management, but they're very different animals.
And they've been doing it longer. They're also the most locally based out of New Haven.
New Haven.
The only 2 issues I have would be a filtering process. If that does not exist and things can only be pulled down once they're put up, that's number 1. And number 2, whether or not the trust needs to be spoken to about.
Trust already deals with this because Middletown has it, right? And
there's
Newport has it.
Newport and Cumberland.
And Cumberland.
So there's
They're
no
both
additional
trust.
concerns from them?
They deal with it all the time already, yeah.
And,
right now, there's been no litigation to your knowledge?
None.
Okay.
The one thing that I do know some of our clients do, for example, Albany, New York, before you submit a pothole, so for example, their concern was, is someone going to submit a pothole and then the next day say, you know, oh, I tripped and fell in the pothole. They have
that's not going to happen here.
They have a checkbox that you actually have to check off saying, I'm not going to use any of this in a claim against the city before you can submit the issue. And that's
But
a large
the person
city.
who submits it checks it off.
Right, but the
The
next
other 5
person,
people that look at it, they're going to go.
I fell.
Also,
Well,
I
I
want to
mean,
make sure
in
I
West Warwick,
clarify.
it's easy enough. If you want to find a pothole in West Warwick, you don't need an app to find a pothole. Yeah.
Find you.
To clarify.
No offense. No offense. Talking about state roads, we're talking about here.
Take offense to it.
All right, so where do we stand on this now? As far as
So ideally, what I would generally do is at the next meeting, I'd present to you a bid approval for this to move forward with this. We would have to have some conversations with C-Click Fix between now and then because this is prior to our fiscal year, and we've already had some rough conversations around that we would have to do some kind of a agreement for the remaining period of the fiscal year and then start anew. And we've already built it into the budget document that you saw.
I want to mention some other benefits to the app too as well, like the alerts. We talked about the alerts. So for example, tomorrow there's a parking ban, which everybody should know there's a parking ban, but it would, if you're subscribed to the app, boom, it would pop up. Thursday, sorry, I apologize. Starting tomorrow night.
no,
But
Thursday morning?
But either way, whatever day it is,
I'm a small guy.
you would get the alert, whatever it is. So, for example, when we have our community event, hopefully we have it again this October. That would be an additional way to let the public know about different things that are going on. School closings, anything. It could be put through the app. And then also, I'm gonna ask the council's permission to add me to the Facebook, the town Facebook, because I think that this app, you can put a little link on there where you can send them right to our town Facebook page. I asked Fred, but I figured it'd be better to ask the council. I know at one point you were one of the admins on the page, just for informational purposes, not to make it like another Wonderfully Majestic or Concerned Citizens, but to get information about that when things are going on in the town, because you can direct people right back to the Facebook or the website as well.
Hey, you got all the time in the world to maintain it. Go ahead.
Let me just add that I also had the opportunity to meet with Julia and hear about SeeClickFix, and it was impressive. It was very user-friendly. There's the app, but then there's also a web page, which I thought, you know, if you're older and you might not be as savvy with the phone, you might be more comfortable on the computer. Very, very easy to operate. It seems like they've thought of everything. They've been in business for a long time. They seem to be well organized, well managed.
It also allows us to utilize that same interface for, as we're still going to get the calls into our offices. So my office gets a lot of calls. Fred's office gets a lot of calls. They can use the app as well to enter in the issue and that it's being followed up on, and then it will still do the notification piece, so everybody's up on what's going on, and then it's a way to track the response. So the person filing the complaint gets an email saying, all right, we received your complaint, we're working on it. And then they can go up and see, all right, what's going on?
The response time too.
Correct.
So like
and they can show that data over
and
time.
And the picture, like we saw the picture of, I think someone submitted a pothole, and then the final picture once it was done, and it was like, I mean, that's beautiful.
But also, like, now, maybe you could tell me more about Newport. Because I talk about the bike path, and Newport has the cliff walk. It could also help us highlight areas where there are certain problems where, even if we decide not to ever get cameras, police presence in certain areas where people are continually finding needles in a certain area. Can you explain, do you know anything in Newport, how that's come into play?
Yeah, well, when you bring up the needle issue, I remember chatting about how Burlington, Vermont uses us. So they unfortunately have a problem where they're finding drug needles on playgrounds, in just kind of areas that are dark at night and not really monitored, so things are going to happen. They have a service request on SeeClickFix for found drug needle, so they can not only be reactive, so citizens can report, you know, I see a mess here, and they can come clean it up, but they also use that at the end of a month, end of a few months, to run a heat map.
Yeah.
And to see, okay, you know, where should we actually be putting hazardous waste receptacles if we need to? Where are these really popping up? And in Newport specifically, I know for them it was really part of a branding effort. They actually came to us and said, we saw what you did with Princeton, New Jersey. We want to be the next Princeton, New Jersey. As you probably know, they have a community that is very, you know, they want everything to look as wonderful as it can.
Hoity-toity.
Thank you. And so it was important to them to have a way that not only for citizens but also for visitors to say, hey, I see something and I want to let the correct person know.
All right, I think we will be ready for the next council meeting.
Yep. I'll put that on the for a bid award for next council meeting.
Well, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for hanging out.
Absolutely.
I apologize. From now on, just a quick thing. If we have some issues that we know people in the crowds, especially coming from Connecticut, just let us know. We can bump it up.
All right, I would have done that. I apologize.
No, I want to let everybody. I mean, Angelo would know. I would know, but you know that's why I bumped poor Carl up, because I know he's only 10. I know he's getting late.
Thank you very
much. But then I realized she's coming here from Connecticut tonight. So, but thank you.
It's a nice drive.
You could also let me know so I know to put it on the agenda.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was such a stacked agenda at that point either. So.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock.
All right, town manager's report.
Keep it real short. You all received in the email the department request for the budget. So that's step one. That is just what each department has asked for right now. So that is right now the next step is for John and I to sit down and see what's realistic and to provide our recommendation based on these requests, and that's what you'll have to then do your workshops with. So if you have any questions right now, this is just expenditures only because we're still getting the numbers in on the revenue side. But you know, we'll be happy to, you know, as you look at it, if you have any questions, you can give us a call. You can call the directors for each department. They should be well versed with what their requests are and what their issues are, and we'll go from there.
And if anybody has I know I did not get to attend the school committee budget. Their proposed budget right now,
It's level funding.
level funded from last year.
Yeah. Which,
Not for the 5-year plan.
But it's level funded for the town appropriation. Just
Correct.
To make that clear, 'cause
Right.
the state aid, as the state aid goes up, that does affect their bottom line.
So.
which helps
again,
a lot.
Their budget, and I'll tell you, their budget is very easy to deal with this year because they're not asking for, they have to work their internal stuff out, but on our aspect of it, we're giving them the same exact dollar amount as last year. MOE, maintenance of effort. So,
That's why I was going to talk about the CRM software we just did, and Jay's also already referred to the snow event that's coming up, so it looks like it's going to be
started out 1 to 3, and 4
6 to
6,
10,
6
6 to
tomorrow
12.
and snow the next day.
Yeah, so
It looks like a true nor'easter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do we have a sense
So-
of time?
the brunt of it.
it's going to start around 7, they said, then
7
snow
in the
heavy
morning
through
till
the
late
day.
in the afternoon.
Hopefully
Yeah.
they'll cancel school.
It's gonna start 7 in the morning until late in the afternoon.
The brunt of it, yeah, but I think the snow is supposed to actually start some point after midnight, but not it's probably changed, like 20 times since we started the meeting. So I don't
Probably
know
has,
what
and it will change, so
Yeah.
we'll keep an eye on it. That's all I have.
Freddie would be the guy, Freddie probably knows more than us.
Any questions for the town manager?
If I can just add one quick thing on the budget side. We had previously discussed with the council having a possible third workshop for the budget. We currently have 2 dates that were on the calendar. So at the next meeting, if you could let us know what that third date is, because we'd like to get those
Why don't we
workshops
start
scheduled.
with the 2, and then if we need to make
That's
a
fine.
date,
Just wanted
we'll
to,
go there.
it was mentioned a possible third one, so I just
Yeah,
wanted
we'll
to bring
start
it
with the 2, and we'll
Okay.
go from there. We'll see how easy you make it on us.
While you're up there, John.
Financial update?
I'll make this quick for purposes of the time. I just want to let the council know that we did get an extension for the fiscal year-end audit. We have until the 14th of February. We are on schedule with that. Once we actually have the final audit that has been issued in the financial statements, I will send it to all the council members. And I am going to arrange for the person at Markham or for a representative from Markham to actually come and answer any questions that you may have pertaining to the audit. And Fred and I will also discuss some of the details of that as well. One other quick thing I wanted to mention, starting with the next meeting, once a month during the financial update that I provide, I'm going to actually provide cash and investment balances as well as an estimate for expenses as of that month, as well as collection information. So you'll be able to get a sense of where we stand for expenses for the departments, as well as how the tax collections, which is our biggest revenue, is running. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Ward reports.
Mm-hmm.
Should I say it?
Board report, yeah.
Ward reports. I'll start with 1, because I know where this is going.
Wakefield Street and River Street.
And I said,
not
I'm sick
done.
and tired of hearing it. So.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of getting the emails. 15 today. 15 emails. What are we gonna do with these guys?
They've been out there and they fixed it. I've been out there.
They haven't
3 or
done
4
anything.
times.
It's worse now than it ever was.
I haven't seen it in the last couple of days.
But before, they'd gone out a few weeks ago and they cut it, they redid it.
Where?
On River Street.
How about Wakefield Street? River Street?
That
You've
too,
been on
they-
Wakefield?
they went
You've been down River Street? I travel it 10 times a day. It is worse now than what it's been 3 weeks ago.
I'll tell you what.
Wakefield Street is a disaster.
Centerville Road is just as bad.
Yeah, well, I don't care about that. That's
Well,
not
I
my
do.
ward. You guys bring it up in your ward report. My concern right now is River Street and Wakefield
You
Street.
don't care about your ward.
No, I mean, you fight it. I've been fighting Ward 1 since they started. It's a disaster. It's a disgrace.
I want to be honest with you, Fred, and I think that we need to get with these major the water company, even the sewer
We did.
authority. No, not getting with them. I'm saying they should not be able to open a road till after August. Because if they open up in August,
Yeah, that's
that gives
another
them
thing,
90
but
days
it's
to
too
take
late
and
now.
pave it. But after this is all said and done,
Right.
I think that these
Not
major
leave it
projects,
undone
they shouldn't be
anymore.
waiting.
I agree.
I'm sorry, they did Centerville Road in November.
Right.
And they knew damn well they weren't going to pave that and do it right.
Exactly.
And that's disastrous over there. And I take that road almost every day. And same thing with Wakefield Street. I now avoid Wakefield Street and I go up Providence
I
Street.
can't avoid it.
No,
My
I don't.
car is a complete, I understand what they're saying to me. The people in River Farms, Hilltop, Governor Hills, it's a disaster. It's what it does to the automobiles. These people are prostituting our town, and we're paying for it. The car isn't made to go over that many bumps. It's good for business, but it's not good for my vehicles, and I don't like it done to other people's vehicles. It's killing the struts, it's killing the wheels, it's killing the tires. It's unacceptable. That kind of work, they should be fined. They should be fined.
Spring can't come fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to look at, and Tim, get your advice on this too, about from a PUC perspective, what we can and can't do with directing them.
PUC, who cares about them?
They're the ones that control.
They control the water company's rates. They don't control what they can do to our streets.
They control a lot. Yes, they do.
Well, then let's
Absolutely,
sue
they
them. They're worthless to begin with.
Okay,
Tim.
Let's go.
how much you wanna spend? Sky's the limit, let's go. I'll file it tomorrow.
All right, anything else in Ward 1?
We'll,
No, that's all I got.
I'll get a hold of,
You know,
PUC's.
Yeah, just find out what our limits are and what we can.
What's the course of action?
Yeah.
All right, Ward 2 has
We can
nothing.
file a complaint with PUC.
Ward
what
3?
we probably can do.
Quickly, I just want to bring up the LED lights. I know that they're coming in. I mean, me and Fred had this conversation last night. I don't know if have you had any complaints in any of the other wards about the LED lights? Yeah, I've got a lot of complaints that some of them are too bright. I know some of them, and I know that they can't be adjusted quite yet because they're not all installed. So maybe if Fred wanted to address that
Well, we
quickly.
can't,
They can
depending on
adjust
the,
them, but they gotta manually adjust.
they've got a manual
I'm sorry.
adjustment. So they'll go out and they'll, but whenever you get them, just call them in with, the pole number, where they're located, and we'll send them out. And when they can be adjusted down, they can be adjusted down. Usually, if they're too bright, if they're too dim, it might be, that we have to get a brighter wattage light because they base the wattage on what was there before. But LED is a different light, different type of light. So people, they can actually see better, but they think it's dimmer. So it's confusing. So in those cases, we've actually, the ones over on Canna Street, we actually increased the wattage on those.
Yeah, they were really dim.
To improve that situation. So we can do that too. But just let us know, you know, they're getting installed,
And
so there's some.
all good reports on it. People
So
are
far,
so happy.
I'll let you know another issue that came up this week that we're addressing now, and that is Verizon's replacing 200 poles right now.
They just started, I see.
So what they're doing with our new lights is they're taping them to the new pole. They're not putting them.
They're
Taping them to the new pole. They're down low, where anybody could walk by and walk away with them. So we've already.
It's not their lights, and I can tell you right now.
And National Grid's going and moving their lines, but they're not dealing with the lights because they don't own the lights. So we've already put the complaint into National Grid that they've got to, because we're not getting the notice until they're already down. But they're playing a little game, so
That's
we're
why the one on Crossland Road fell off right in the street.
correct.
What are they? Wait, what are they?
I said, how the hell did this fall off? And they were working, National Grid was working on that pole.
Yep, they didn't want it. They don't deal with it. They just put it down next to
Matter
it.
of fact,
tape it
Vinny
to the thing.
Marzullo picked up the light.
Yep.
Angelo, this is what's going on. You have National Grid, who's a union, Verizon, who's a union, and different unions. But then you have the lighting company who took their business, and now they're like, we're not touching your stuff. See you later. And they're playing the game and they're supporting each other. So, we should be notified by
They're supposed to
PUC
use the system.
standards.
They're supposed to use
They're
the.
supposed to let you know.
They're supposed to use the electronic system, saying this is what's happening. They're not using it because
I
we're
mean,
on it.
If they're not,
We're
if
not
they're
getting
breaking
notifications.
the law, I'll tell you what.
Let's arrest them.
This is what should be done right now. Then
They can use the
cease and
C-click
desist,
fix.
They cannot change a pole.
Right.
And,
we straighten
unless
it out.
they notify us.
Let them go to court for it.
And they should not be able to, because the poles right now that they're changing, yes, they need to be changed because of the age of them, but there's not a major safety
Again,
issue.
it's another PUC thing. We're gonna have to go to them and say.
So, all right, is that it, Jay?
Yeah, that's it.
4?
Really quick, just to report on the encampment on Pulaski Street. The council meeting, the transition committee reported that there is progress being made in all facets with the individuals at the camp. As we all know, there are confidentiality issues, but we are getting a snowstorm tomorrow, so I'm going to bring in the humane part of it. We're going to get 8-9 inches, and these people are still outside. They are looking to progress to move off the property, but that will be progress in the next meeting.
5? 5?
Bueller.
Councilor
Bueller.
So that
Bueller.
was 10 minutes.
Ward
Thank you.
5?
Oh, nothing, sorry. It's very quiet, very quiet.
5. All right.
6.
All right, upcoming appointments, Public Library of Trustees, Recreation Committee, Planning Board, Board of Assessment, Board of Canvassers, Board of Tenants Affairs, Technology Committee. Public comment, any public comment?
One question, quick. Technology Committee, why are they all open? Who were the guys that were on there? They still want to be
Should
on
be
it.
2.
Well, they.
I know
don't-
Ward 1 was,
Station.
Satria.
I sent
Satria.
notices out.
He did.
I get no reply
We got a
back.
letter that he wanted to continue to be on there, so you're gonna take one off, a Satrian.
I have to advertise it 3 times.
Yeah, I know, but,
It's not 3 times.
all right, no, but
Per
I'm just
your
saying,
resolution.
he wanted to do
He
it.
wants to be, you still have to advertise it,
Yeah.
reappoint him.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I still gotta put it.
Any other public comment? By the way, just a quick, I wish I do this earlier. Kendra, I apologize because we've never really met, but I should have announced,
Yeah, Kendra.
I should have acknowledged you that you're
Yeah.
from the Kent County Daily Times. So, welcome aboard. Hope to work with you. I will get you a business card as soon as I can. I say it to Angela all the time, like, where's the Times? And sometimes you're sitting in the back.
You're hiding.
So,
I
and
pinpoint
it's
you.
funny because it's Kendra and Kendra now, so it went from one Kendra to another Kendra.
We'll never forget your name.
Alrighty, do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Alright, All Stars, I'm going to get dinner.
I have a question
You don't get to
for
have questions.
Dave
Hey, Rose,
and Tim.
how's Matt?